Hayne, what's up?
What is going on?
Man, thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate you guys reaching out. I'm going to pour a little more of this Pinhook bourbon because it's COVID and we can day drink.
That's right. I mean, this is the best time to do it.
That's absolutely right.
So yeah, since I found out about you, like I'd been planning trying to find you out around town, give your truck a shot, and then talk to you about coming on here. And then with this whole crazy the world falling apart thing, I was like, there's no better time than now.
Yeah.
Also, I saw that last post that you made, so I was like, yeah, I gotta get him in here. Gotta get him on.
Yeah, I've had that stuff sitting for, probably 4 weeks now, and everything's just been crazy. And I have a table that got taken apart, and I can't find the legs to it, and it's like a big wood table, and I'm like, I don't know what we did with these. So I've been kind of hunting, but hadn't been able to turn it up, so I was finally like, all right, I got to get it set up. I got to at least be able to use it and kind of check it out and figure my way through it, because no experience, but it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And just long format like we were talking about. I don't want to edit. I just want to drop it in, throw some music on the beginning, be like sponsored by Delta Biscuit Company, and boom, let people listen. So
yeah,
get some people on and stuff. But yeah, I appreciate the invite. It's cool. I always enjoy just hanging out, chatting.
Yeah,
it's weird hearing myself, and I'm like, oh, I got to get used to it.
It is a little weird at first. I find that these help. I find that they help because I feel like they lock me in more when I'm talking to someone.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I should just be staring you in the eyes the whole time.
Yeah, we did an episode without them, and then that was weird to me. We just had too many people in here.
Oh yeah.
So we did it without one. The headphones.
I can see that. Just make people share. Just turn them.
Yeah, there we go. Just two heads next to each other.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Or small people and just put it around their heads.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, one ear each. You guys just share the middle.
That's it. Sorry, y'all were the last ones in the room. This is what you get.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. Little straw. Delta Biscuit Co. Man, how long you been doing that for?
Yeah, so we, I guess officially since 2016 was when I kind of, like as we were talking about, kind of before everything kicked off. I went to work for the railroad in 2011. I'd been out of state till 2009, moved back, went to work in the restaurant industry, opened Bravo out west. I was at Hibernia for a little bit. I was out on the border. Before kind of the local restaurant scene really kicked into high gear.
Yeah.
And then I went to work for Union Pacific. My dad retired from there a couple years ago, and he was like, hey, they're about to start hiring again. And I was like, well, it'd be great to have benefits and healthcare and, some extra money to go on vacation with and stuff.
They say that's a good gig as long as you can deal with the schedule, is what I hear.
Yeah, it was, let's put it this way, it was a much better gig years ago. It's the worst company I ever worked for.
Really?
Yeah. When I say that they're literally trying to fire you every day that you go to work, it's not a joke. Like they tried to tell us that we weren't just like a number, like a liability, but it's very obvious from day one that you are a liability and you are a number. And I think the company could work with the unions a lot better. I didn't know how I felt about unions until I was in one that had no power. Because the union's pretty crap, but also just because of some things that happened, in the 80s and 90s, especially Reagan kind of busted up the unions and the power, and it's sad, but it's like, okay, the only thing more corrupt than the business was the union, or more pointless, and it's like, as a small business owner, to look at that and just go, oh, you don't treat people right, it's all about bottom dollar and tax, and people who are have shares of stock and stuff. And it's like, oh, well, we're responsible to the tax holders. And I think that that's true, but not true. Like, I think you have a responsibility to your workers, first of all. And it's one thing to be like, hey, we had a business that has to change because of technology or whatever. But just to treat people disposably is pretty crap. There was no relationship there. Nobody I knew. I mean, even the guys I know out there now, nobody likes working there.
Yeah.
They like the guys. They like the work. They hate the company. And it's always, oh, well, look what they did today. Look at this crap. Look at this. And the schedule was rough. And it all could have been made better. Not perfect. But definitely could have been made better. But it was, it's still one of the few jobs you can get with a high school degree making $125,000 a year.
Yeah.
With great benefit, good healthcare, pretty good retirement. We'll suppose a really good retirement. If you hang on the whole time, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I think it's a perfect example of like in the 80s, a lot of those guys were like, man, I made the same money in the 80s that we're making now just because of laws and stuff. And you're like, that puts it into perspective when like my dad's 86 Chevy was $7,000.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, those guys were making $100,000. It was like $250,000, and it just hasn't kept up.
Yeah.
So with inflation and stuff, which is understandable, everything can't, but it was a job. I knew I was walking into it for a limited amount of time, so did that. But because I wanted to open restaurants, so was riding trains, and a lot of train riding is middle of the night, bored, no phones at the time, you can't have a magazine or a newspaper. It's like company propaganda only, right? It's like you have to have a rule book. That's all you can read. And you can't even read that while the train's moving. You just kind of sit there and look out the window. So I used to take a notepad and write, because it's like, it can't really stop me from writing. I have to like write, keep their paperwork filled out anyway. So I just keep a notepad.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where you realize it's like, there's no stupid ideas at 2 a.m. because everything just seems bananas. So I just write like 50 things. Then the next day when I woke up or after I got done at the gym or whatever, because there's nothing to do on the other, when you're at a hotel, it's just like, well, I guess I'll try to be healthy and not just lay here in my bed and like eat Subway. But I would just write. And then the next day I'd be like, all right, 47 of these are horrible. And then I would write the 3 that were good on the next page and throw that one away. And then the next night, just do the same thing and be like, okay, well, those 3 are still good. Here's 2 more good ones. Eventually you get like 10 or 12 good ideas. But it was just like, I was like, okay, if I'm going to start a restaurant in Little Rock, like, what does it need to be? And I think I'd been reading Entrepreneur Magazine, and I was like, and one of the big things they talk about in tech, right, is like, you don't make an iPhone. Like, Apple owns the market. They're one of the most, successful companies in history. Like, you cannot beat them at their own game. So you have to come into the market and either subvert it, or give the people something that they want and don't have, or something that they don't know that they want but need.
Right.
And I was like, well, all my friends in the restaurant industry, friends who were managing, people I'd trained in restaurants, and then now we're working for like Yellow Rocket and these companies. What is everybody saying we need? I was like, there's no breakfast in town. And this was before At the Corner really kicked off, and before The Root was doing breakfast. And it was like, there's a few places, but it's like Denny's, IHOP, and everybody's like, we need breakfast.
The
I
chains,
was like, I can do it.
Yeah.
And from that, I was like, okay, once I kind of got that, now it's like, okay, what's my perfect breakfast place? And I was just like, man, biscuits. This is the South. Who doesn't love biscuits? Nothing makes me more mad than going to a place and being like, biscuits and gravy, y'all make your own? And the waitress is like, oh, yeah, we make our own. They bring it out. I'm like, that is packaged crap.
Yeah.
I can smell it a mile away. And it's just like, okay, let's do it right. And so I was like probably 2014, 15 that started kind of formulating. And then I was like, okay, who's doing this? I'm not the first. And then it was like Denver Biscuit, Biscuit Love in Nashville, Pine State Biscuits in Portland, Biscuit Bitch out in Seattle, and then like Biscuit, or Biscuit Head in Asheville, Flying Biscuit. Like you had these, Maple Street down in Florida. I mean, you had these places, big cities.
Yeah.
Not expanding right to Little Rock. And I was like, well, let's do this because I can make a biscuit as good as them. And luckily, my best friend lives in Denver. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just try Denver Biscuit out there.
So good.
My sister lives in Raleigh. It's like, well, that's Biscuit Love in Nashville, Biscuit Head in Asheville, Flying Biscuit in Raleigh. Like when I drive out there, I was like, well, I can just kind of figure out what they do. And every place was very different. And just kind of formulating, started playing and doing a lot of product testing. And then I think in spring of 16, I don't remember the exact date, but like I had set it up, like I launched the Facebook and the Instagram and everything all in one day. It was like, hey, we're here. I'm not, this is the concept we're going with. I already had like recipes and stuff at that point. And I was like, okay, it's time to kind of create some buzz, and dropped it. And then in 17, we did a pop-up at Honey Pies, which my friend Sharon owned, now owned by Blue Cake Company. We did that over 2 days. And day 2, I had to call a buddy in to help because I just got killed the first day. I tried to do it by myself. I thought 30, 40 people. Nope, I sold out of everything, like 60 people. Just spent the whole night prepping, getting ready for the next day. Sold out the next day in like an hour. It was just bananas. And then in 18, we took over Flyway, which you're drinking an R&T Amber. Jess is a good buddy of mine. And he let me take over their kitchen one morning, and we did like 180 covers that morning, just like me and my brother and my buddy Bob, who works for me now, and had a blast with that. And we were like, all right, so people like biscuits, we got this. And then in fall of 18, November 11th, it was September 20th. I signed all the paperwork for like the loan and everything, which was the day before my birthday. That weekend I went to Dallas, went to a wedding, and just had a blast. It was like, the whole weekend was like, all right, this is going to be awesome. And oh my gosh, I have so much to do, but I'm at this wedding. It's my birthday. So I just kind of came back, hit the ground running, and ran hard till November 11th. And we opened at Proof in Hillcrest. My buddy Gene owns that bar. And we set up out front and just looked down at like 10 minutes till 11. And the line went down and past Kamuri and around the building. And I was like, boys, it's going to get busy.
Nice.
And it was just bananas. It's been great. So the city's been amazing, and then of course tons of food trucks have shown up, it's awesome. So it's been a fun journey. So that's a long roundabout way to how we got here. But,
yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do, right? I mean, that's what it takes. You got to put in a lot of work before you can get something like that rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've learned in this is you can either put in the time or you can put in way more money than you should.
Sure.
And some people do. I think we've all seen that. You know, you have things that's like, okay, well, we'll just put enough money at the problem that it fixes it. But what I did is, you know, when I walked in, I'd been working on my business plan for a year and a half before the loan. But I knew every step that had to happen to get it open. You know, first is find the truck. And I already had some things in place that were just on hold. And so I think I had that benefit of kind of a little bit longer term view. 'Cause like, you know, I got the truck, and once I signed it and the money hit the account, it was emails like all the way to Dallas on my phone. Just like, hey, I have the money, put it in play. Hey, it's time, put it in play. And I just had like people set up, and I had my list of like email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4.
Yeah.
And so went down through it, and then it was, okay, all this is ready. All this is in place. They're working on my branding. They're doing this. They're doing this. Find the truck so they know how big of the wrap to make. You know, find, and then you know what equipment to buy. And then, okay, I need to buy all these things. They need to be in the cart, ready to buy, shipped on this day because I don't need them before this. They don't need to be in the way. It's just timing. And then it was like, okay, we're going to open this weekend. And of course, you get up to date, and it's like, okay, we're 7 days out and there's 14 days worth of things to do. How did this happen? Yeah. It's like we gave ourselves 2 extra weeks and we still need another one.
Yeah.
But like you just go, okay, make it happen. And there's a couple times where, you know, some things I learned working from some gentlemen earlier in my life. We had an issue with our oven. We got to the point where, a full-size convection oven wouldn't fit unless we bought like a $7,000 one. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And so I found a half-size one, which they typically take 6 extra weeks to get a hold of and are twice as much. But I found a used one in Memphis, and I was like, I just need it to pick up. I need to pick that up Wednesday morning at noon. I don't care what overnight parts from Japan, like, just tell me a price that is less than $3,000.
Yeah.
And she was like, it'll be like an extra $40. And I was like, I'll give you a credit card right now and buy the thing and pay for all the overtime, and I don't care. And there are times where you just have to say, I just need you to tell me what it takes to make this happen. And you have to know those times. But a lot of times was 16-hour days. You know, I joke that from the day I got back from Dallas till, Christmas of last year, I just worked 14 hours a day, every day, just trying to push through and make it happen. And I've seen other people do it with less time invested. But at the same time, it's like, you know, and you waste time. You look back and go, I should have done things different. But you wake up, think about it. You go to bed, you're thinking about it. You just go, okay, this is what it takes. And I understand it now.
There's learning curves with all that, right? You learn what you can shortcut a little quicker, where you can invest more time, less time, things like that. Oh,
yeah. Well, and it's like, you know, and I'm sure it's the same in here. Like, you know, the first podcast, I don't know how long it takes to do, but it's like 10 times longer than it is right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, you tell me that I got to cook for 100 people tomorrow. And the day we opened, I would have been like, well, we'll be awake all night. And right now, I'd be like, I need 3 hours, right? Yeah. It's just like, okay, well, we know every little thing now. And you figure out your steps. And it's the same reason, like, if a restaurant opens and you get to go in the first 2 weeks, understand your experience in 90 days will be so different than the first 2 weeks. it doesn't matter if you had the perfect manager and the perfect chef and the perfect owners and they had all worked together for 20 years. Unless it was literally a replica, perfect replica of the last restaurant they worked in, you have to figure out the little things, and it just takes time.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting when something like a restaurant or a food truck or a podcast is public consumption, and people get to go, well, this was horrible, and you're like, and I understand that biscuit was a little off. Like, my grandmother died 3 days ago. I'm really sorry. Like, yeah. and you're right. Like, I do owe that to people, but they don't always see that. And so I have to remember that too, of like, yeah, when things are going on in my life, it's, when you're working 14-hour days and you have been, it's like, man, people don't know that. And honestly, do they care? Yeah, the people that know me care. But a lot of people are just like, man, I get it. But like, it's kind of like, well, then why did you put it out to the world? And I feel like that's a balance. I feel like that's that's the restaurant balance, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's everything. To me, cooking is a lot like an art. I mean, not everything. You're not a machine.
No.
You're not just cutting everything out the same. There's a lot that goes into that. Just one biscuit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, I don't know. People, you may get, not a great one every now and then. You may get a bad podcast every now and then.
That happens, right?
I mean, stuff like that happens. Anything that people are touching, something's going to fuck up at some point.
Yeah.
That's just part of it.
Yeah, and that's, I think that we have to remember that, like, man, that people say I want home cooking, but, man, we used to always have backup rolls in the fridge, or in the cabinet at Thanksgiving, because my grandmother was notorious for screwing up the yeast rolls.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for years. Once she got a little older, right? I mean, she passed away last year. She was 92 or 93. I don't remember right now. I think she was 92. But, the last 10 years, last probably 6 years, we didn't really let her make the yeast rolls. Probably the 5 years before that, it was always this joke, like my aunt or whoever's house it was at, there's always a couple packages of dinner rolls in the, in the cabinet. It was like, do we have them? Okay. You just keep them hidden, because the yeast rolls would come out and they'd be like this big, like didn't rise at all, or you'd taste them and you'd be like, oh, that's nothing but salt. There's no sugar in those at all. And it's just like, okay, something. It was hilarious. No matter how much she was like, okay, I'm only doing yeast rolls, something would happen, and you just go, okay, that's what it is. You have to have a little bit of grace. And it's like, nobody remembers when grandma burned the fried chicken because she was yelling at somebody, but it's like, you remember the perfect stuff. And it's like, okay, you just have to kind of take that stuff, with a grain of salt and go, it's not perfect, but it's good. And that doesn't excuse, I mean, I've had bad service and bad food and at friends' restaurants, and I just go, hey, it's not great. I think a perfect example is, and I know Donnie won't mind me telling this, we were at Cathead's Diner one day, and Donnie comes over and is like, man, how are the ribs? And I was like, man, I can't chew them. And he's like, what? He's like, oh my gosh. But he didn't know that, so he just grabbed everything off the line, whatever went wrong, instantly replaced and made sure everybody, and he handled it perfectly, right? Because when you have a restaurant, you can't have your hand in everything. You have to delegate, and sometimes things get missed. And the moment they do, you fix it, you make it right. And he brought over some fresh ones, or some, not fresh, not that they weren't, but some new ones, and they were perfect. And he, anybody in the restaurant who had them, he made sure they got swapped out, and everybody was happy. And but I think it's perfect, and you just go, okay. But you got to let people know and expect it to be made right. But
yeah. It goes a long way when you can fix something.
I think so.
And that's same thing. Life in general, man. Anytime something like that happens, and you can take ownership and correct it, it's the way to go.
Oh yeah, well that's it, right? Like, hey, this is what's actually happening. Let's be honest. Let's be open. Let me be real about the fact I'm not perfect, and let's move forward. Life, relationships, family.
Yeah, I found that people can normally see through bullshit anyway. So being open and honest with things like that, it's the way to go, man.
Oh, absolutely.
People will respect you a lot more for it, I feel.
I think you're 100% right. So I don't think many of us respect people who try to BS us and
exactly.
Try to, oh well, it's not my fault. Those are the people you're like, all right, they're never at fault. Let's just not deal with that. You go, man, I messed that up. I'm sorry. You're like, all right, it's cool, man.
Yeah,
no problem.
It takes that pressure off.
Absolutely. And then we live in a world of liability and lawyers, and it's like, let's just be done with it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing too. I think that's part of the, like we were talking about earlier with Union Pacific, that's part of the problem with those big companies like that.
Oh,
because
sure.
then everything, like you said, does become a liability. Anything that people touch, because something's going to mess up at some point.
Absolutely. And when you have, it's all about dollars and cents, you know.
Yeah.
Can a company like that make something go away cheaper by just paying off? But then that feeds into this society of people wanting payoffs, right? I got a buddy that was in asset prevention or whatever at Walmart, where it was like, you know, the lady falls, but they have a video of her like putting soap on the floor and then like sliding through it like she's going into second base.
Yeah.
And he's like, we have you on video like head first sliding into home. Like, that wasn't our fault.
Yeah.
And it's like, people think they can get paid for that. And it's like, man, if a company messes up big time, negligence, it's their fault. Yeah. Take care of people. You know, and on Union Pacific, you know, I had friends that were in a big derailment. One guy may never walk again. And it's like, show up, take care of that family, just take care of them. You know, but then you get lawyers sweet talking somebody's ear and they go, well, man, you can sue and get 10 times that. And it's like, yeah, you could. Or you could just let the company take care. And the company goes, well, if we can just settle, it'll be 10 times cheaper. And so now people are at odds. And I don't know where that comes from. It comes from greed. It comes from
that's what I was
all
just going to
sorts
say.
of crap.
Yeah, greed, and then, everybody turns their guns on each other, man.
That's it. So
Right.
I don't know how we got from food trucks to liability in the country with lawyers, but we made it there.
Yeah, there's always some strange lines that get tied here. I am interested about your truck, though. So when you were looking for a truck, what exactly do you look for in a truck that's going to make biscuits? And when you buy something like that, is it usually already outfitted, or you gotta cram that thing yourself?
Yeah, so you can do it a couple ways, right? You can do a new build, right, where you call up a company and you're like, hey, this is what I want, this is what I want to do, and they'll work with you to build that out.
I'm sure that's some money right there.
Yeah, I mean, you can go cheap, right? But if you're going to do it, why?
Yeah.
Like, put the money into it, right? Like, and so for a properly outfitted truck, 60 on the low end, because you're buying a new truck too. Typically, you're buying a truck with 35,000 miles or something like that on it, you know, like a box truck. You don't, you know, I mean, if you're gonna buy it, just buy it basically new. Don't get a high mileage. But you can do that and have somebody outfit it and do all the work. Of course, there's tons of trucks on secondary market, right? This one specifically was in Pensacola, well, Navarre Beach. So there's websites, of course, where you can buy anything these days. So you start checking Craigslist is what I did, like where in bigger cities, metropolitan areas. And I just kind of started in Little Rock and went out. I was like, okay, Little Rock first, that died pretty quick. And then you're like Kansas City, like Memphis, like St. Louis, Houston, like places where you know that there's a good food truck community. And there's going to be trucks bought and sold and up and down and all that. And so start looking. And for me, it was a matter of like, okay, does it have bones, basics that I can retrofit? And so it's like, okay, you know, the more retrofitting I'm going to do, the cheaper I want the truck to be. The closer it is to what I want, or the newer, the nicer, the more I'm willing to kind of pay for that, right? Because it's like, I knew that if I was buying a $25,000 truck, well, I'm putting 25 into it, right? I had about 50 to 60 budgeted, equipment, if I need a new transmission, new motor, whatever. Because it's like, I mean, this is the business. If you're opening, I'm going to have the suspension checked. I'm going to have my transmission checked. I'm going to have the engine checked. And, you know, I mean, we were looking at it, and I was looking at a truck in, I think Cleveland or Cincinnati. I don't remember. It's somewhere in Ohio. And the guy was like, man, it's got a brand new transmission, but the engine's got 220,000 miles on it. But the inside was really clean, had just been redone, basically, or had just been built. And so it was like, okay, well, that's really nice. I was going to take it to a mechanic here and put a brand new engine in it and be like, hey, I want a new engine, new alternator, new everything. I know it's going to cost $5-6 grand, but now I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And I'll put that money out on the front end because that's part of this, right? You open a new restaurant in a space here in Maumelle and you're going to redecorate.
Yeah.
Same thing. So, you know, it's kind of that, okay, what do I want? I don't know. It felt like a lot like when I bought my house, right? It's like, okay, well, we're willing to spend this if we have to remodel, and we're willing to spend this if we can just be good with a, you know, an accent color in the bedroom, right? There's a different price there. And so that's kind of what you get into with food trucks. And then, of course, if you know, we have a truck, 28-foot box truck, you dive off into trailers, and it's like, okay, well, that number goes down considerably because you're not buying a vehicle.
Sure.
And so I could have had a brand new trailer outfitted for probably 2/3 of what I paid for the truck and ended up in it, or maybe half. But then I got to have a vehicle.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, now I don't own a diesel truck that's going to haul around 18,000 pounds. And there's pros and cons to both. And after kind of thinking through it, I was like, there's something to the food truck. The actual truck pulling up, jumping out, and people being like, man, that's different. To me, at the time, it was like, there weren't a lot of food trucks around, a lot of food trailers. And I was like, I don't want people to think I'm a carnival trailer. I don't want them to think fair food.
Yeah.
And I would say that right now that's different. And I would say that is very much on the back of Amanda Ivy with Low Ivy. She took a very small trailer and I think changed people's opinions of the quality of food that could come out of something like that. And I am not a chef. I don't claim to be a chef. She is, and she's very good. And I think she really has changed that game. I think at this point, if I was going to reopen, or if someone was going to open now, it'd be about concept and branding. But I think you can do it out of a trailer in Little Rock. I don't think people see it the same way. I think they go, okay, they're the same. Whereas when I opened, I don't know that they were. There's just a different view on it at the time, and so
I could agree with that. I think.
Yeah, so we found that, and it was for what we got. The gentleman had almost sold it twice, and people backed out, and his wife was like, "Get this thing gone," and so
that's the best time to swoop in.
That was it,
like
man.
That.
He was ready to go, and it was the week before the hurricane hit down there, and so we saved its life. That's what we say. We brought it north and protected it, but we brought it back north and had it rewrapped, and had to do a little outfitting, had to change some things out on it, and put some equipment, a convection oven, not something normally on a food truck, just because they're big and bulky, and a lot of times you try not to do, you want things flat top, maybe an oven, like a range, so you can keep things warm, but or cook in them, but a lot of times that to order stuff is you're cooking it right there, cooking it on the flat top or whatever.
Yeah,
so
something a
the
little
deep
quicker.
fry. Yeah, and so you're not doing a lot of that like big long, or if you are roasting, you can do it in just a range convection oven. You just don't normally need them, and they're big and bulky. So it's like, okay, well, but for us, for our concept, we had to have it, and the truck works great. So we put our own flat top on and put the convection oven on and put a different fryer on because we need a little bit bigger one because he didn't do a lot of frying and we do a lot of fried chicken, and our hash, we fry our potatoes and stuff. So change that out. Other than that, man, it's great. Put a big fridge on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, had to put a stand-up fridge on there.
Did you have any reservations with that biscuit truck with like the oven situation?
No, not really. I just knew we'd figure it out.
Yeah.
I knew that we could make it work. It's a matter of size, but there's a lot of things on there I'm not doing. But that's part of the reason we went with a 28-foot truck. I mean, it's big inside. It's got plenty of room. It is a mobile kitchen. We did all of our prep on there for the first 9-10 months.
Really?
Yeah. So we were parked at our kitchen over on West Markham, which is a big commercial kitchen space. So we have big fridge inside, big 3-door 80 cubic foot, big freezer, dry storage, got deliveries. But just to keep the overhead down, we didn't buy kitchen time inside. And we were just kind of figuring everything out. So we did all the prep on the truck. And then about July, we started getting kitchen time. And then by August, if we wouldn't have had it, we wouldn't have been able to do last fall at all. Because there were plenty of times where we were just didn't have we had 3 people doing prep. And there was not enough room on the truck. Like, we didn't have enough burners. We didn't have enough ovens. We didn't have enough space for me to make biscuits. We went from making a single batch of gravy every week and a half or so, and we vac seal it all and do that. So a batch of gravy every week. We can I would say every 7 days about on that to do in like a 4 batch. And it's like, well, I can't do that in a pot. We're doing it in a big 40 quart
Yeah.
or 80 quart tilt skillet, and it's like, oh geez, you could fill a bathtub with this much gravy, and it's just like, okay, but we were catering and doing big events, and it's just like flying out the door, and I'm like, our people drinking this? And people are like, I just need a bigger straw. We're good.
Yeah.
So,
put it in that bathtub. That's fine.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that's online somewhere. Gravy bath.
That'd be interesting to see. Yeah, it's pretty rad.
It's been fun.
How big is the food truck community around here now?
So, at last count of I think we're between 16 and 20 now that are, and there's a couple things. There's some food trucks that work like weekends and events, or just do catering. There's a couple trailers that have been around for years. Like for instance, Bragg's Big Bites. Hazel Bragg is great, but she's really like April to October. She does corporate events. She just enjoys it. I'm almost certain she's in IT the rest of the time, and so she's not out during the week. She does corporate caterings. She does weekend events. Does the circuit. But yeah, so it's kind of a second thing for her, and not take anything away because her food's great and she's wonderful. But it's like I would say the trucks that are out now daily, like this is what we do to make a living. I have 14 to 18 maybe, somewhere right in there, and I would include like Conway, Jacksonville, Little Rock in that, Benton, Bryant.
That's the central community.
Yeah, central Arkansas. Once you get out of that, there's not really anything outside of that.
Yeah. The population,
until you get to Northwest.
Yeah, the population dwindles massively.
Yeah, you have Tammy in Russellville with Walk and Roll. She's been up there, Russellville, Pottsville. So she's been there for years, but there may be another. There was one up there. I don't know if it's still in business, but not somebody I've met. So yeah, I'd say we're a pretty tight knit community, and there's always people kind of coming and going, and you see people and you're like, all right, well I've never seen you, I don't know you, and then you see people at the big events and you're like, okay, well where are y'all? Oh no, we just do events, we just do caterings and big events. That's the only thing we come out for. It's like, okay, well that makes sense, because it's a tough job, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough gig.
Well, not only do you have to, not only are you in a tighter spot than a normal kitchen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get everything ready for a truck.
Mm-hmm.
You find your location. What goes into all that?
Finding locations.
Yeah.
A lot of it is repeat locations, figuring out where you're going to go, setting things up like on a 3-week basis to just kind of keep your schedule going. Some things are more seasonal. Obviously December, January, people don't bring trucks out as much. And then some places stay open all year and bring us out. Once you kind of get in the community, you find out real quick where everybody is. And a lot of it is just trying to get in on their schedule. I was scheduling in like set events into June, like up to July. And we were I was taking deposits on weddings and big events into October. So it's like, okay, you kind of figure, okay, well this year we can take, I had someone call me in January. I was like, hey, I'm getting married in October. I want you there. I was like, all right, here's our wedding stuff. Here's our deposit. How many people? Let's talk about this. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll figure it out a little closer to time. Like all the other details we can put off, but it's like, okay, well, here's the deposit. Now the date's yours. And it's non-refundable and things like that. You just have to, because, and I've had some people go, oh, well, it's non-refundable. Yeah, well, I give up events to cover that date.
Exactly.
And that we're not a catering service. So you take a big caterer in town, like Heritage Catering, well, they can do a couple weddings a day. So if a small one or a medium-sized one backs out, they're still full, and they can fill it pretty quick. There may be a big event on that day that I pass on, and then I can't get in now because it's full.
Exactly.
And so it's a little bit of a different thing, and try to figure that out. But yeah, we have good relationships with a lot of the apartment complexes. We're at Arkansas Children's. Have developed, just kind of some good lunch locations around town. And then our weekends, we kind of rotate through some of the farmers markets and Good Earth Garden Center, which were supposed to be at Saturday, but which we just canceled. Some of the bigger corporations around town bring us out. So there's a pretty good rotation of trucks that hit that. And then there's more locations right now that are opening up to bringing trucks out because they're seeing how good it is around town.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a pretty good hype. People realize, oh, I can actually walk down here and for $10 or $13 get an amazing meal, and then take it back up.
Yeah.
Take it back to my office or go sit with some friends or grab it to go. And I think people are realizing that, and it's helping. So the more great food trucks we have, the more locations I find are reaching out. I'm like, hey, we want to do food trucks. And now the kind of, I think the onus that falls on the food trucks is explaining what we expect, what it takes for us to continue to come to a location, because 10 people doesn't cut it, right? Like that doesn't even cover my labor that day.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like here's where we have to be minimum. If we have this, we'll keep coming. We want to help build it. How do we help you build it? Because I always feel, I think most of the other trucks do, that we're in the business of creating great food experiences for any location. So how do we work with that place to encourage, promote, bring people out, help create a good time and a good event? And honestly, at no cost to the location most of the time. There are some things where we do have minimums. If you want me to come out to a private event, there's pretty much every truck in town has a minimum. Hey, we have to do this much in sales to justify being there.
Right.
Changes dates and times. But, during the week, typically we don't have minimums for, our business clients like Blue Cross Blue Shield, But also, that place has been proven. They've had food trucks for 10 years or something like that. And you can talk to the other trucks and go, okay, well, I kind of know what I'm going to do. So
Yeah.
it helps.
Yeah, I could see that. As a consumer, I always get pretty hyped when I go somewhere to an event or something, and I see a food truck there. I'm like, this is going to be good.
That's it. Yeah, and that's, and that's what we try to communicate, I think, as a group to a lot of the event organizers that, hey, we are a draw. We are a hype. There's not a food truck in this state that's going to set up and bring 2,000 people to a location. It's just not going to happen. But I think, like you said, you go to an event and then you see one of the food trucks that's going to have good food, that's doing something fun, and it just increases your overall enjoyment. And I think kind of increases that hype. Oh, you're going to talk to your friends about it. You're going to tell people where you are. You're going to tell people it's awesome. And I had this great food. And I think it's part of the experience, just like, good music or, anything can be. And so, that's it. It's all, we try to be part of that. Whereas I think if you go to an event and you're like, oh, we went and it was at noon and we went to have this food and it was not good or it was cold, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like that event was fine, but the food was bad, and then we had to go find food, and it just taints your experience. And so, I think having a great food truck is part of creating that good consumer experience.
I agree. Just like my dogs, I am highly motivated by food, especially good food.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that can just make everything so much better.
Yeah. And, and I've worked with a lot of people who say, hey, we want you to come out, we want you to do this. And I'll just be like, well, let's talk. What do you want? What do you expect? And they go, oh, well, it's going to be 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. And I just go, I'll do it. But let's talk about what these people are doing. Because I do recognize that, like, with biscuits, I am in a certain demographic. I don't get it, but I still find people who are like, man, it's 4 o'clock. I didn't want a biscuit. And it's like, man, I get that, but this is a 4.5-inch biscuit with 2 hamburger patties on it. I mean, we treat it like I don't know. I think of it almost like it's just bread. It's another device to put food in your face.
Bingo. Yeah.
And we try to have fun with it, but some people don't. And I think it's kind of, I don't know. I kind of laugh because I think Waffle House is only good between midnight and 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like people are like, okay, about 2 p.m. Delta Biscuit ceases to become not 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Like, man, we are on fire. People are like, yes, all the biscuits. 6 p.m. people are like, man, I just want a taco. And I'm like, man, I don't have tacos. I don't do biscuit tacos. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've worked with people and been like, hey, let me give you a number of some other trucks. I'll be happy to do this, but I think for what you're telling me, somebody else would fit this demographic better.
Yeah. Because
I recognize too that if I do that, that is just helping everybody.
Sure.
And then, maybe later on they go, hey, we have a breakfast thing. It's called Delta Biscuit again. Or, that leaves me open to take another event. Or, At the end of the day, it just helps one of my friends do another great event.
Yeah.
And we all kind of laugh, but it's one of the things, like if you go to Taco Bell and you go through the drive-thru and your whole order's wrong, right? You're not like, I hate all fast food.
True.
You're like, fuck Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
But that doesn't, all of a sudden Chick-fil-A isn't like in that group. But if you go to a food truck and you're like, man, that food was bad, fuck food trucks. And I'm like, whoa. Like, no. Fuck that food truck.
Yeah.
like it's not my fault you got a bad like funnel cake at a carnival truck at the state fair. I don't do that. That's not me. Man, props to those guys. I've seen what they go through. It is bananas. It is like 8 days of insanity, and I have no desire to do that. But there's just certain things you can't do. I've had people ask me to do like music festivals. I'm like, everything I make is homemade. There's no chance that I could possibly prep and store that much food unless I had weeks on end. So when you do stuff like that, you just have to buy a lot of product in. I'm not willing to do it, so I stay out of it. Those guys buy amazing product in a lot of times, but they're giving you exactly what you want. I go to the state fair. I'll be honest. I go to the state fair. I do not want like super cool street tacos. Mm-mm. I want deep fried Oreos.
Yeah.
Right. I want
dog.
Yeah. Me, I want a corn dog. I want some lemonade.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yep.
That's what I want at the state fair. But
maybe if I didn't eat dinner, one of those turkey legs.
Maybe. Yes. Absolutely.
That's it.
But and I don't know, somebody told me there was a really good street corn vendor there last year. They do like roasted stuff, and then they like give me like, I was like, oh, that's good, right? Because it's corn, but it's a little fancy, and you charge a little more. I'm in. But yeah, I think that there's just a place for everything, and so it's like, man, let's just help people out. Let's figure out how to work with everyone.
Yeah.
In the community, and if I'm booked, well, hey, let me try these 4 trucks and tell them I sent you. Yeah. Because this is an event I would do. And let them know that Delta Biscuit sent you over. And then it's kind of a pre-vetting, right? Like, there's some trucks in town that if I get a call and they're like, hey, so-and-so gave me your name. I've got this event, blah, blah. Okay, you have a little more credibility now because you talked to somebody who gave... I know they're not going to give you my number unless they think it's a decent event. And then I'll vet it myself, right? Because it's still my business. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, okay, cool. Like, let's figure out how to make this happen. And yeah, it's just about being a community. It's about helping everybody out. And that's the deal. I've had some organizers that were like, man, it just feels like food trucks are against me. And I'm like, no. Food trucks just don't want to go out of business.
Right.
Right. So like, let's figure out maybe what you want doesn't need a food truck. Maybe it needs something else. Let's figure out what you need. You do not need a food truck between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. You need Lob Lolly to bring an ice cream truck out if it's in May.
Yeah.
There's certain things that's like, man, everybody ate and then they're going to eat again. Let me help you make this event successful. It's not about anything else. And so, that's part of the job too. It's like, I didn't expect it when I opened up to be like event consultant, but we all end up being that. It's like, well, let's talk about your event. Let me help you understand what it's going to take. Like, let's really figure it out, or you get the person who calls and goes, hey, we're going to have an event with 100 people. We're going to have 4 food trucks. And we're like, whoa. How long is the event? It's 4 hours. Nope. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Like, let me help you understand like numbers and reality and how much I'm actually going to serve, and what it's going to cost me to be there. And I've had places that were like, we'll pay your minimum. And I'm like, well, then I'll sit there and not sell food. And I hate it. I'm always like, ugh. But it's like, you guys wanted the trucks there for the view. And at that point, you're basically just buying my time.
Sure.
So it's just interesting.
I mean, that's small business 101, right? Your time is money. You gotta make what you gotta make to keep going. Some people don't realize that. I found that in the tattooing world, just everything that I've been doing, I'm finding that out more and more. But just like what you were talking about, being able to do that, being able to find that you don't fit there, but being able to give some other options of people that not only does that help them, it helps the person at the event. Nobody loses.
Absolutely.
And that's the important thing.
Yeah, and least of all the consumer.
Yeah.
Right. That's the person. That's the person that we're all concerned about. It's
right.
Like, hey, you're going to come to this event. I want you to have a good food truck. I want you to have a good bouncy house experience. I want you to have a good time. And if any of those don't work, or if I can help make any of those work better, I feel like that's part of my job is kind of joining in. I think it's more partnership than it is just hiring. Yeah. Right.
It makes a lot of sense too. You get to see all that firsthand.
Oh, absolutely.
So it makes sense that you would have an expertise in that. Anyone who's planning an event should be able to see that.
Yeah, and I think it's I think you made a good point there. I do who knows how many events a year, 40 plus big events. Probably closer to 80 because I do like Third Thursdays in Benton. I'll do Cersei events. I do Little Rock events. And then you have all the weekend events. Probably between 40 and 80 events a year that I'm behind the scenes at. I see people. I see the setup. I see the trash takeaway. Like, I notice that stuff. And a lot of these event organizers organize one event a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, lean on your people that are there supporting you when you have questions. And not that I can't think of very many event organizers that don't ask the right questions. The events don't last very long. But the events that have been going on, there's a lot of organizers that know what they're doing and have been doing it for a while, and ask and get good feedback and then weigh the feedback against their event because it's their event. And not that I have all the answers. But I do see a lot, and like you said, I do a lot of events.
Yeah.
I feel like if I put on an event, it'd be like, okay, well, I need these 6 things. Like, let's make it happen. Like, I do these all the time, and so, yeah, it's just kind of by nature we do that. And I don't know of a food truck in Little Rock that isn't willing to be like, you know, someone to call and go, hey, we're thinking about this. What do you think? And they'll go, yeah, absolutely. Like, how many people? Like, previous years numbers or whatever. Okay, cool. Probably need to be sitting about here, like diversify your food trucks, like you want different things, like how do we make this successful? And because that's what it's all about. And a successful event this year is a more successful event next year, which means there's more food trucks, and then the next year there's more and more and more, and all of a sudden, you know, you have a great time. And I think a perfect example is Benton. They did their Third Thursdays, and they started with a couple food trucks, and they didn't have a great experience from what they told us. And they called me, and they were like, hey, we know you've been doing this. You know, some people around here have had your food, and they know you. Like, what can we do? And I was like, well, how many trucks do you need? And like, we want to fill 3. Okay, well, how many people and all this?
What is Third Thursdays?
So Benton does a thing called Third Thursdays. It was supposed to start in April, but it's probably going to start in May or June now. But it's just downtown. They bring in music, and they have street vendors, and they have a beer garden down there, and they have there's 6 food trucks, plus I think a couple dessert trucks, some local trucks, like Riverside Grocery is there doing catfish and stuff, and then there's a couple trucks out of Little Rock, a couple trucks out of that area. But it's just like a big kind of like just citywide event that happens on the 3rd Thursday of the month, and it's a time for people to get out and enjoy. And they usually have a theme with it. And like I said, it's downtown, like right on the square, and then they have the food trucks there, and then they have the beer garden, and then all the surrounding stores will do street front stores or put set up outside, so everybody just kind of walks around and stuff. It's just kind of a big community thing. It's been great.
Nice.
Yeah, we've had a good time with it, so it's been really enjoyable. But they just asked some questions and got some feedback, and we're like, okay, well, let's bring some trucks in that do this all the time and can serve 100 people over 2 hours. Which for us, I would say, if a food truck, most of us can serve 50 an hour, without really breaking a sweat. You start getting into big event festivals, we're pushing 80 to 100 an hour just to move through. But that's, you streamline them in, you streamline process. You're doing 3 things and you're shoving it out the window as quick as you can.
Right.
But they're like, oh, well, it's going to be 20, you're going to feed 50 people over 3 hours. And I'm like, cool. Let's get that to 50 an hour, and then we'll start talking about bringing another truck in, but they ask the right questions, and we're open to feedback, and it's been a great event. I think for the city, for the trucks, for everybody involved, and everybody was super happy. And so that turned. I don't know if it started last year, but I know I got involved with it last year and going to be involved all through this year. And it's something the community looks forward to. And we see people every 3rd Thursday. They come by and they're like, hey, it's good to see you. We're going to go eat over here. And I'm like, yeah, tell them I said, hey, please go try the other stuff. Other people will come try us. And so it's just, yeah, it's real communal, real enjoyable. And it's what I got into it for. Make people happy.
Yeah.
Feed people biscuits.
Yeah. Good biscuits. Yeah. That's the way to go, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty rad. I need to check that out. I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not in Benton much, but
right. Yeah. And I don't think they do a lot of advertising to the residents, right?
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, we get some people from Bryant that come over, and some people from Malvern and stuff that come up. But Little Rock's weird. in that stuff. Like, we've tried to do some like third Thursday or third Tuesday events in Little Rock, and they just haven't gone over. And then you go to like Cabot or like Benton, and it's like everybody comes out. But it feels like in Little Rock you have so much going on all the time. It's a little different, you know?
Yeah, comparatively.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, these little suburbs, it's perfect for them.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So how many people you normally have on your truck cooking at a time?
Man, there's me and Bob. That's it.
Yeah?
So yeah, Bob and I worked together at Big Orange, and then he's a roommate of mine, and he came on full time with me last July. Wow. So came on full time, and it's just me and him. We live in the same house, and like, you know, but he handles his stuff, and so he's one of those guys. We get along great, and we try to keep, as I was talking about, it's 14 hours a day. I'm always on, right? But you know, he does, you know, he helps me out, and I, you know, like last week he was sick, you know, with he actually no COVID, he just had a sinus infection, and he was like, my head feels like it's gonna explode. And I was like, well, you have to get tested for COVID before we could do anything. So
For sure.
He's all good, and he was just like, unfortunate timing. And I was like, yeah, because you're gonna get COVID in 2 weeks when everybody else gets it, and then you're gonna be down again. He's like, oh, but yeah, we employ two, just me and him, and full time. Then we have some people that come out and help us on, you know, random weekends and events and things like that. So
Sure. Well, you need the extra hand.
yeah, you always have those, you know, pop up events where it's like, hey, I need one person for this many hours, and you know, you just kind of have to have people, give them enough heads up so they can be off, and pay them well enough so that it justifies them not working wherever they were to come out. So, or they're friends that just enjoy it and they're willing to kind of jump out and help, and it's like, all right, man, I appreciate it, you know, and
I'm sure
things like that.
I'm sure that's a fun gig.
Can be.
I mean, anything that's work is work, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and you get it. It's like, is this work? Well, I don't know. You might make money off of it, and someday if you do, right? But I assume that like Rogan makes, you know, enjoys what he does.
Yeah.
You know, 14-hour days have never bothered me in this gig. I love it.
Yeah, and that's the trick right there.
Yeah,
that's something that you can put the work in, and enjoy it and make a profit off of it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the ultimate goal, right?
Still working on the profit part, right? Like, I mean, like the
always.
Small business, it's like,
Always.
got a lot of biscuits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good. And then, you know, the big events, I think the big events are fun. Those are the most fun because, like Harvest Fest last year, I asked around, I asked friends, like other food trucks, like, hey, how many did you do the last years? And they're like, okay, well, we did, like, I had a couple food truck friends who told me, I've never done more than 300. Okay, cool. Well, we took 350. That lasted 4 hours. We opened at 11. At 3:30, the truck was shut down, and I was sitting out front drinking beer. And it was just like, people are like, how are you out? I'm like, well, I did more business in 4 hours than some trucks will do all day. I didn't know. And part of that is, like, we had a great location. Part of that is I streamlined the process so that we were only doing a couple items, and we could just sling them out. You know, we could push food out the window. Had a great staff that was able to kind of keep up with it. But at the same time, and a lot of it was, there's 28,000 people that come through there. And you just have to be able to move the line.
Yeah.
So we learned a ton. So next year we'll take probably 600. You know, figure we can go another little bit. And part of it at some point just becomes inability to bring enough stuff or to even refill enough. But yeah, the big events are great because when you show up, there's no like, oh, well, when are people going to be here? Is it going to be busy? Like, okay, pacing yourself. It's the most fun, and I think anyone who's ever worked in a restaurant will tell you, the most fun is Friday, Saturday night when everything's balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, when we're on the truck, it's like, okay, what do? We don't think about anything. Biscuits come out of the oven. 5 more pans of biscuits go in. Chicken comes out of the fryer. More chicken goes in the fryer. You're not like, are we going to sell this? How many do I need to put in? Put as much as you can get in the fryer because there's a line 40 people deep and it's going out the window.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 items. One of them has chicken. It's just like, go. Just like as fast as you can, you know, as fast as you can to put out and when you streamline so you can keep the quality. And so, but yeah, I love big events like that. We did, I think the last big event we had was fight night down in Benton. We work with Pyramid Fights when they do the MMA stuff. So we do all the food service for them, and we don't do biscuits at all. We do like not pulled pork nachos and like Frito chili pies and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was actually out of town for that one. But the guys that handled it, it's just like, get everything hot because we're going to sell everything we have.
Yeah.
It's like, how many hot dogs do we get ready? Well, everything we bought. Just get everything ready, and just sell it. And that's fun because you pull out a lot of the guesswork, a lot of the thinking. It's just like, okay, we prep for a week. Like, let's just go. Yeah. Thundercats.
Well, that's a double good feeling, right? You're staying busy, so you're go,
mm-hmm.
which is enjoyable compared to just sitting there. But then also you see those dollar signs moving. That's helpful.
Yeah. The deposit after those is always nice.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
I get no sense of satisfaction until I look at my bank account and it went up. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
And then you look at it like on the 5th of the month and you're like, oh, all my rent and everything got paid. And I'm like, it's a constant cycle of like rebuilding, and then paying and rebuilding and paying.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
That's the life, man.
And now with COVID, it's like, please God, just stay level.
Yeah.
How do I make this stay level?
Yeah. Where's that balance? I gotta find it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of scrambling going on right now. That's honestly, like the illness with the whole thing is very scary. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest fear is that the whole economy situation.
Yeah. I think you nailed it there.
Small businesses, man. That's the scary thing.
Yeah, I agree.
The big guys will make it through just because that's what they do. They've got a much larger mountain to stand on.
Yeah. I wonder about that. I think that's a good point. But I don't know. I mean, some of it's just cash reserves, right?
True.
You look at a company like, I mean, let's take Chick-fil-A,
mm-hmm.
right? Yes, they're the richest, most valuable, fast food restaurant in the world because they own all their land, right? That's one of the things.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have a lot of liability because they own the land and the buildings. They can't just walk away from them, right? So I don't know what their cash reserves look like. And I don't know what they have to have coming in daily. Minimal, right? Like, because there is that minimum. And it could be like company-wide, we have to do 10 million in sales a day to not lose money. So I don't know where that is, you know? And I think that's really interesting. I think you made a great point, though. I think there's a lot coming out about it if you kind of look behind the curtain of the economic impact and the business lost from this is going to be more devastating than the virus. And that's hard to say because people are going to lose loved ones, and that is horrid. But as a whole, the economics are going to be. This isn't. I mean, the influenza gets people every year.
Mm-hmm.
From what we see, has a bigger impact on children, on the elderly. This tends to hit people a bit different. I mean, even someone my age, 38 and relatively healthy, no major health problems, could get it and then develop a complication. And if I don't have a respirator, I'm in trouble. With influenza, chances of me getting real sick or you, probably slim to none.
Yeah.
But the shutdown, they just shut down all barbershops and salons.
And tattoo studios.
So where is that gonna, most of those are small business.
Yeah.
Restaurants in Little Rock. We have lots of chains, right? Especially North Little Rock, right? You hit the, Maumelle, where we are now. Lots of chains.
Yes.
But if you come into Little Rock, like, I don't need it chains. One, because I want to keep my money local. Two, I'm a small business, so I want people to eat with me. And three, I know everybody.
Yeah.
It's like if I go out and I'm gonna tip a bartender, I want to tip a bartender that I know. If I go out and I tip a waiter, I want to tip a waiter at a restaurant where I know the owner.
Absolutely.
And when I've been in it essentially since 2009, because even when I worked for the railroad, now I just had more disposable income, which was a huge benefit. But I would go out, my wife and I would go out and see everybody and say hey and, be able to, buy an extra cocktail and tip a little bit more. And it was great. But I know from sitting where I am that we're going to be okay. Just because, I tend to keep a little bit more in the bank, but I also don't have a whole lot of overhead.
Yeah.
Right. The guy who works for me, right. He gets paid X amount a week regardless. And then if we work more than that, he gets more. That way he knows he's taken care of when we shut down or if events get canceled or whatever. I don't want him to have to worry about that. I don't have a whole lot of expenses because I can't, being a small business owner. I have my mortgage, I have a car payment. That's kind of it. As long as I take care of that, we're pretty good. He is a roommate, so he pays me part of my mortgage and rent. So like we can work that out, figure it all out.
Sure.
But it's like if I, other than, especially if the Small Business Association helps me out with the small business loan, which I have with them, I don't really have a whole lot of expenses on the truck. If I'm not serving food, I'm not buying food, and I'm not buying gas and stuff. It's like, okay, well, labor, gas, food, those are my biggest expenses. Rent, I can work on that, and where I park, it's like, okay, well, hey, I'm not gonna be using the truck. I'm gonna unplug it. So like, the guy that that owns our kitchen, I know John would work with me if I needed him to, and but we're just at a point where it's like, okay, we could shut down 90 days and it wouldn't be great, and I would not like that, but we could, and we could come out
and survive.
Yeah, there's a lot of small businesses that if they shut the doors for 90 days, like, ooh.
That's exactly what I'm looking at. There's so many.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's so many.
Yeah.
So many that even a week I know would hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
That's honestly, that's my biggest fear with this whole ordeal is
Mm-hmm.
the aftermath, because we'll get through the illness. We will lose people, and that sucks. That's
Mm-hmm.
terrible. Nobody wants that.
Absolutely not.
Especially when it hits on a personal level, then that's devastating. But the aftermath of this and how long that will last is what I'm mostly worried about.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing in the recession, 2008, 2009, a lot of people laid off from big business jobs. A lot of big businesses shrank. We had a higher percentage of restaurant closings that year than normal. But there were some restaurants that really surged in that too. And so your overall restaurant jobs, people were out of work a little bit longer, but we didn't see the overall drop long term. Because what I'm afraid of is that imagine if 50% of the restaurants around closed. Like, that's 50% of small business owners in Little Rock. But each one of those employs, for me, one, let's call it two, because I'm employed by that business, 2 to 50 employees. Well, where do they go? Well, normally they go to another small business.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys are servers and bartenders and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, where are they going to go? Well, there's no corporate jobs for them, but there's no kind of the people who used bartending to kind of get between job to job. There's none of that.
Yeah.
And how long is it going to be before that comes back? And then who does that affect downstream? That's not putting money in the economy. That's landlords that aren't getting paid. That's people getting it. The trickle down is huge.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we're looking for in this stimulus package, which, not to get too political, and I will stay completely down the middle in saying that both sides suck ass.
Oh, without a doubt.
And the one thing that I can say is that, like, there's a lot of political back and forth right now, and the biggest thing is I think we have to take care of people from the bottom up, not the top down.
Yeah.
And I kind of personally toe that line between, like, I don't know, I'm a little democratic socialist on one hand, like, hey, look, let's take care of people and give them health care and do that stuff, but, like, as little government intervention as we can, and the other side's like burn it all down, like total anarchy. Which,
Yes.
you know, there's a little bit of that in me, and you fight, but it's the balance, right? Like, oh, not anarchy, not total socialism. Like,
Bingo. That's
you know,
the same line I write.
yeah, and it's like, man, I don't want you telling me what I can do with my body. I don't think you should be able to tell anybody what they can do with their body. But I really like to shoot guns.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, like, okay, like, can't 80% of us are in the middle, and we vote as far apart as we can, and it's like, come on. But I hope that they do. I hope that, you know, we've already seen some small business stuff, but what gets me, and I know will you too, is like the SBA is like, okay, we're going to do some small business loans at 3.75%, and we're going to bail out these big companies. And I'm like, hold on. How about we bail out the small companies, and we let you guys make all, you know, at 2%, and the big companies pay 4% because they make billions and did billion-dollar buybacks with all their free cash.
Yeah.
Like, can I have 1% of 1% of what you're giving them, and I'll never need money ever again?
Yeah.
And it's like, like if they would just do suspend small business loan payments, SBA loan payments for 6 months, put a moratorium for 6 months, no interest accrued, 6 months to pay. You know, I'm working with, you know, I saw that they're going to do a thing for mortgage, for loans. Hey, can you pay your mortgage? And it's like, if not, we're going to give you a 6-month suspension. Or I know Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, they were talking a year. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not with them, but my lender's willing to do that. And I was talking to some friends the other day, and I was like, do whatever you can now so that it's already done before you need it.
Yeah.
You want to come out of this as good as possible. And I think the biggest thing is like, as a small business owner, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to apply for one of these loans and get whatever because they're not, you can't even ask for it. You put in all your information, they tell you, well, we're going to give you this much.
Yeah.
Cool, I'll take it. But I hope that the stimulus package comes through and helps, you know, small business owners more so than the big guys who have the lobbyists and pay to get people elected and stuff.
Unfortunately, in that scenario, those guys that are getting the more reduced rates, let's say they're getting it at the 2%, whereas you're getting it at the 4%. Mm-hmm. Well, that extra 2%, they're going to use to pay the guy that's giving you the 4% and then the 2%.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate thing about the whole system.
Sure.
It's got its advantages, like we talked about earlier. It's also got disadvantages.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it has advantages where, I mean, I think we live in a great country, and I think that we do a lot of good things. And as a small business owner, I'll say, you know, I try to see both sides of it, right? Like, but I think right now we have to kind of I think it's going to help people to reevaluate some things.
Yeah.
I know for me, you know, one thing I've touted in the last year is small business, local small business, local small business, local small business. Buy from local small businesses, give your money to local small businesses. They drive the economy. Every bit of money that comes into Delta Biscuit gets, almost every penny of it, unless I'm on vacation, gets spent within a 20-mile radius of my house.
Yeah.
You know, 20 miles of Markham and Shackelford. And it's like, it goes back into the business. Because when I eat out, I eat here. When I buy stuff, I buy it here. You know, when I, you know, all of it. And when I buy gas, I buy it here. You know, now granted, there aren't very many mom and pop gas companies, but, you know, I buy, you know, when I buy hardware or whatever now, you know, lumber, I don't go to Home Depot. I go to Fuller & Sons Hardware. Yeah. Granted, I work right behind their building every day, but they're local. That money's staying in the economy. They're not owned by some company out of, like, even out of Wichita. They're owned, that's Little Rock. Are you going to pay $1 or $2 more? Yeah, you might, but they're pretty competitive on most things, and they have things that you don't know, and they give me a level of service, and they're great. That's
the big thing for me, especially with the local thing. You'll find you get better service. Mm-hmm. People care more.
I agree.
And that's the reason I do it. And, like, restaurants, there are almost any restaurant that is from here or around here, close, that isn't a big chain, you'll normally get way better food.
Oh, yeah.
And even if you don't, you probably just caught them at a bad time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I ate at a chain restaurant.
I still do when I'm traveling in a hurry.
Sure.
Because you got to do what you got to do.
Probably Shake Shack when I was going to Jamaica. I was in the airport. I was like, I've never had Shake Shack. And I was
Yeah.
in Charlotte, North Carolina. We flew through there. And are you familiar with Wicked Weed Brewing out of
No.
Asheville? They got bought a couple years ago by Anheuser-Busch. It was a big deal. Everybody in the craft beer community, basically, they do a bunch of sours. And they had a ton of partnerships, like Jester King out of Asheville, all these people. And they were throwing a big event at their place. And everybody pulled out and canceled all their stuff with them. And we're like, y'all sold out to Anheuser-Busch. And here's the issue, right? Nobody in the community thought that, like, hey, you guys sold out because you hate us. The issue is that Anheuser-Busch spends money to push small business out of the market.
Yeah.
And they were like, you sold to a competitor who's actively trying to put me out of business.
Yeah.
That is where the distance was. And
I mean, that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. And I get that completely. But anyway, they had a bar place in the airport where you could sit at their bar, and then you could order Shake Shack from the bar, and they'd bring it over to you. And I was like, all right, I'm such a hypocrite, but I'm in the airport. I'm gonna drink Wicked Weed, and I'm gonna get some Shake Shack.
Yeah.
And I got a ton of respect for Danny Meyer and Union Hospitality Group that started and owns all that, and was like, I got to try it, and it was good. There are better burgers in this town. Way better.
Yeah.
Especially at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely better burgers. And it was good, but I was like, if you were like, oh, we got to have Shake Shack, I'd be like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. But I think just like anything, you're replicating something over and over, and it's just not going to be the quality
exactly
that I think you want it to be. And I think you nailed it. Like, you're going to get better food, you're going to get better service, and you're going to get a better response. You know, and there's been a lot of stuff going around of like, you know, it's not Chili's that's sponsoring the local softball team.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes it is, but very, very rarely.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you know, there's been a lot of talk between small business owners, like, those places employ people that live in this community.
Yes.
But it's that balance. Like, but if you tell me, okay, during this difficult time, I can go spend money at, you know, Chili's and support people who do live in Little Rock, managers who live in Little Rock, who need jobs, who need to spend money. Or, you know, I can go to La Terraza, right, and give money to people I know that live local, that support local, that have 2 restaurants in town, that hire local. It's like, okay, like, that's a clear choice to me.
Yeah.
I feel like that $100 or $50 I spent for dinner goes further there than it did at Chili's, because yes, they're paying their employees, but some of that money is getting taken out of the economy. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, okay, you know, I got to make a choice. And as a small business owner, I hope people choose local every time.
Yeah.
But I know this has made me kind of rehash some things, rethink through, like, okay, how do we really push local? How do we ensure that people shop local and are aware of local and know local, and are aware when something isn't local, right? Because there are things that come into the market, there are businesses that come in that people go, oh, that's a local, somebody just started that, or that's a food truck that's you know, someone just started, and then they find out, no, that's a franchise.
Yeah.
Like 15% of that store's sales leave the state, you know, or 10% or whatever it is. And so you go, okay, well, you know, don't get me wrong. If you have someone who locally buys into a franchise, I don't fault anyone for that, you know. It's when you have a franchise that owns everything. I think that there is a difference there, and it's a small thing.
It is.
And we don't always think about it, but, you know.
There's there's still part of that though. Even if you buy into a franchise, you're I mean, sure, you're getting yourself a bit of a leg up starting out. You already have that name, so that helps. That's great. But then part of that goes back to that, you know, bigger corporation.
Sure.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, that guy who just opened that one little shack down there, you know, his is all going back into the community.
Absolutely.
Just like you were talking about before, more so than, I mean, everything that's here helps, right? That, I mean, I try to stay as local as I can for the most part,
Sure.
especially eating out. But like I said, it's a benefit for me on that because it just usually you get better stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you build the relationships and you get to know people, and that's, I think that's what it's about for me.
Yeah.
Is people. You know, and I think, you know, there's no right or wrong answer.
Sure.
Right, to this. Spend your money where you want. But I do think that you should get the most bang for your buck. And I think you nailed it. Like, you know, and the thing I always say is, my dad comes into town and Outback, want to go to Outback. And I finally said, I'm not going to Outback. All right. I have a small business in this community. I know all the small businesses. We're going to a local place. What do you want to eat? And I will take you to a local place that will provide you the best thing. And he goes, I want a steak. I went, cool. I got you.
You can get a better one than Outback, first
Absolutely.
of all.
Well, and my stepmom was like, I really wanted some oysters. And I went, got you. We went to Maddie's place. Killer hand-cut ribeye. My dad was like, oh my gosh. And they had, it was oyster season. I knew they'd just gotten them in. They've been promoting them on Facebook. Big oysters. She got them oysters Rockefeller, the baked ones with the cheese and the garlic butter. And she was just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, look at this. Look at this meal. You paid about $3 more for that steak than you would have paid at Outback.
Yep.
But I know 90% of the people in that kitchen, the chef lives local. Everybody here is local. This is a local place. And we just put a couple $100 into this business.
Yeah.
And everything was great, you know. And is it this? And I think it's so interesting. And I've thought about this a ton because people ask me all the time, hey, where'd you learn to make your biscuits? I go, man, I taught myself. They're like, you never saw your grandmother? I'm like, man, my grandmother didn't make biscuits. My grandmother was the youngest of 4. Her sister was 16 years older than her. My grandfather was in World War II. When he came back, they got married. I think they got married when he got back before versus when he went. My aunt was born in 53. My dad was born in 56. My aunt was born in Louisiana. My dad was born in Ohio, because that is right at the time where we had these guys coming back from the military, right? You have guys who've seen the world, you know, who've traveled, who've been outside of their hometowns, you know, and they had in World War One, right? Totally different time though. What had changed between World War One and World War Two is massive. Came out of the Great Depression. We had state parks now. We had more national parks. We had the interstate highways. And my grandfather was a welder, so he was welding. Ohio, he welded on the Air Force Base. He was in New Mexico. My dad lived in Albuquerque. Really that first generation that could do that. But also, now you're not on the farm. My grandmother, she's not having a can. Yeah. She can buy things at the grocery store. So, you know, and it's funny. I asked her one time to teach me how to make pie crust. She said, I haven't made a pie crust 50 years. I said, what? She goes, how about Pillsbury? I went, what in the world is this? Because I grew up in a world where everything at the grocery store, no. Like, let's make it ourselves, right? We're kind of going back to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, my grandmother always had a frozen pizza in the freezer, right? And I don't know the last time I bought a frozen pizza. I'll just order one from someplace local, right?
Yeah.
But no, she always had a frozen pizza in the freezer. You know, and biscuits came out of a can. And, you know, it was just, it's different. But she was like, this is new and novel and easy. Because when she talks about growing up, she talks about canning all the food for the winter.
Yeah.
We don't understand that. Because, yeah, you can go buy your produce and can it.
Convenient.
But if you run out, you can go buy canned tomatoes from the store.
Exactly.
So we don't understand that. She and I had multiple conversations the last 4 or 5 years of her life about that. And, you know, just that. They were the first generation that was able to kind of travel and move and go, but it wasn't the focus on. It was the new and the, oh my gosh, it's easy. We're not having to spend 14 hours a day and raise a garden and all this. And they still had a garden. They still had fresh tomatoes and stuff, but it was different for them. So much so. And then,
well, yeah, when you look at it, when you have to rely on those things and you don't have the convenience, it makes a big difference.
Big difference.
When you can still put in the time for, say, a garden or you know, something like that, but you have something to fall back on, it's a hobby. It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
You can
Absolutely.
enjoy it more than if that's your only sustenance for winter.
Absolutely. I was listening to y'all's, was it the last podcast that y'all started talking about how long you could live?
Yeah.
And I was like, y'all are so full of crap.
Yeah. I don't think I could make it. I don't think I could make it.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we think about that stuff, and it's like, how long would you last? It's like, man, I don't know how to farm. I mean, you plant things, but, man, you hear about people even now. Like, man, the deer got in and ate all my stuff. And I'm like, man, how did they do it?
My parents, so when I grew up, I grew up just north of Heber, up there off the lake. My parents had a little garden. They have still to this day, they got a little chicken coop, stuff like that. We still bought eggs. Because, sometimes your chickens would lay one egg in, 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
That's not going to get a family of 5 through.
No.
But, I could do stuff like that.
Sure.
I don't want to.
No. Not at all.
I don't want to. I could go kill something and eat it, but I don't want to.
Mm-mm.
I can just go to Kroger, man.
I will say, I do like having, like, local meat in my freezer.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've made it easy to buy now. Like, Bramble Market, Me and McGee Market. You can buy local stuff. The people I get my eggs from. It was funny you were talking about that. They think a hawk swooped the coop, like, last year. And she was like, hey, we're down on eggs. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, nothing's laying for a few days. She's like, I think a hawk started spooking. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, you don't think about that, though. I don't think about, like, if chickens think that they're going to get preyed on, they physically stop laying eggs because they can't take care of them. They've got to be in survival mode.
Yep.
It's like, no, we don't think about that. But they also do pigs and stuff. So, like, I have like ribs and stuff in the freezer, and I'm like, I got plenty of meat. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
Make it happen. But, I'm with you. It's like, I don't think about it. I'm like, I'll just go get some. Exactly. But that's the world I grew up in.
Exactly. And, there's a balance there, but that's why I don't think that in that survival scenario I'd make it too far. Mostly just because I got a bit of a lazy streak. I'll be real.
Oh, I'm too lazy to farm today.
I'll be real. Because that's some of that stuff, like farming specifically, even a little garden. Way different than growing little herbs.
That's why people
in
have
your
like 9
windowsill,
kids, bro.
It is for sure. Absolutely.
They'll like get your butt in the garden.
But it's the long game, right?
Yeah.
So
you're playing the long game. There.
Yeah, you got to tend that garden just so you can eat in 6 months.
Till the kids show.
So yeah, exactly.
See, I think end of the world, like, you just take over somebody else's garden.
See, that's my
take over the farm.
Yeah, that's my idea. Like, let's find the stockpile, but that's gonna run out eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
So then you got to find the next one, and the next one. Eventually, you're out of stockpiles.
Oh, now you just turned a little raiding, like Mad Max group. You slowly accumulate, right?
Yeah,
just taking over farm after farm, and then you're the new government.
That's
exactly. We're back where we started.
That's exactly where I was gonna go. Eventually, you have to get back to small communities, and then you gotta have someone take care of those communities.
That's it.
So yeah, it's just a cycle. We're cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
Creatures.
It's a circle of life.
It is.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. This is going to be interesting. I think, kind of back to what you were talking about with the economic impact. Like, we don't know. I don't think that you could predict how far this is going to go. Because when the small business goes, what's the full cycle, right? It's like, okay, well, small business, people aren't spending, people aren't shopping, aren't spending money in restaurants because they're not there. Well, those people are out of don't have money to work, so they can't spend money.
Bingo.
And it's like, okay, what percentage of the economy of workers are going to be without jobs when this is over? And we just don't know, because the first hit was restaurants, right? Like, stay out of restaurants, don't go to bars, don't congregate. And I'm like, whatever, we're drinking alcohol, like, and don't get me wrong, like, I fully understand that this is not a preventative. Mm-hmm. But what do we do? How do we prevent? When it's not just restaurants, when it's tattoo shops and salons and barbers? Okay, now that's another group. At what point does it cease to be just those? And is it, Britain announced, well, our time last night, overnight, yesterday morning, they're shutting the country down. It's like grocery stores, and like a few things, but
That's a big one. That's a big one. Because what do you do when you can't go out to somewhere to eat because the restaurants are shut down? Well, now you can't go get food at the grocery store.
Well, grocery stores are going to be the one thing. They're considered necessary, right? Like, they have to be open because people have to have food.
Sure.
But they're going to be, you're going to be limiting the number of people who can go in, trying to do as much curbside pickup as you can. So those may be the places we may see people flock to for jobs, right? Because, like, oh, well, now we need 3 times the workers to put all the, because essentially you're going to have to shop for everyone in the community. But how do we do that? Like,
they can't employ everyone, though.
No, they can't.
So
at all.
And there's only so much when your whole community is dependent on, one store.
Oh, absolutely.
There's only so much product.
Yeah.
It was not too long ago, we were going through the grocery store. I have never seen shelves the way they are. Ever.
No, it looks like the threat of a snow day.
Right?
But it looks like the threat of a blizzard. Like, you're going to be stuck in your house for weeks.
Yeah.
But that's what it is.
And it is. And that's the scare.
Well, and it's interesting. I didn't even realize this. David Rice, who owns Bramble Market, like Highway 10, Ferndale Cutoff, we go out there usually 1 weekend a month, every 3 weeks, set up. It's a year-round farm stand. And he and I were talking. He was like, well, this is actually the season where, like, all the, like, local chicken farmers, like, they don't bring in new brooders until after Christmas. So, like, the local, like, the farm-raised chicken supply, because my thought was like, oh, this is great for all the farms, right? Like, Kroger's out of meat, but you can get local stuff. He's like, they're actually all out of chicken. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, their chickens aren't ready. They won't be till May, because that's when the season comes back in. But we got hit with this early. We're in a time where it's like, oh, what does this look like?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I don't think you couldn't tell me something today that would be true tomorrow.
No, we've never. No one has seen anything like this. This is totally unprecedented.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think, and not having any idea, of much of anything outside of, like, my market. Businesses that are over leveraged are going to be over leveraged, and they're going to have a hard time. Hopefully there'll be some relief for that with, like we were talking about, like with mortgage relief or rent relief and things like that, so that these places can stay in business. But you got to take care of their workers, because people that close their doors, you got to take care of their people, because otherwise, what are they going to do? Are they going to be able to come back to work? Well, I waited tables, I bartended. Like, I didn't live month to month, right? I usually, when I left the railroad, I went right back into waiting tables. I didn't spend money for about 2.5, 3 months until I got 3 months of bills in the bank. And then I was always working to replenish versus working to pay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who aren't there.
Sure.
They just didn't have that ability to come out of a 6-figure job the way I did and have a little bit of cash flow coming in, and then, set myself up and take care of bills. It's week to week. It's sometimes day to day. And, if they're out of work for 3 weeks, some of them have car payments and rent and food, and, like, what do you do?
There's a big cycle with the whole thing too, because let's say these loans are paused, for lack of a better word, deferred. Let's say mortgages, 6 months, a year. These companies that do those, that's, they give you these loans that's what they do. Now they're going to suffer because they have no income, or very limited income.
Yes.
Now it's just a big circle, man. Because if they have to downsize, that's more people out of a job.
Sure.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Nobody, and hopefully, you would think, well, okay, the government will help with this stimulus. Where's that money coming from? Us.
Yeah, eventually.
So that money's coming back to us, which, I'll be honest with you, I think more of our money in the government should anyway. It's ours. But there's a lot of shit going on with our government that now they are out these, billions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
it's a weird balance, and everything's off right now. It's strange.
Yeah,
man.
I completely agree.
It's strange. Because a lot of this money, so this money from the government's going to have to come from somewhere, so they're going to have to cut something somewhere. Where is that?
Well, and I think it's fine to note that we're so far in debt right now that, like, you know, I mean, what was it last year? Our debt surpassed 50% of the GDP.
Whew.
And it's like, which is essentially, economists are just like, nobody's ever done this, and we suspect that this is a point of no coming back from. You know, I know that I saw some stuff today. President Trump, you know, said that, you know, business will be back up running sooner than later. And I think that that's a pretty false sense of things. There were some pretty good things that got pointed out that, like, he's not the one shutting down states, it's the governors.
Yeah.
The governors at the behest of scientists and CDC and, you know, people in other countries are saying, listen, you understand what's happening. And both Republican and Democratic governors, right? Like, people on both sides of the aisle going, we've got to nip this in the bud.
Yeah.
We got to cut this off. We got to stop this before it gets crazy. And I don't even know if we can do that now, because I don't know. But it'll be interesting if they do put us on, you know, 14-day lockdown. You know, I mean, I know schools are, out till April 15th or 27th, something like that, like end of April.
I think some of them have even called the year.
Yeah, some in the country have. My niece is out till May 15th for sure in Raleigh, but she's year-round school, so it's a little different. They just kind of suspended that. They'll make it up. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's one thing to be in school. It's another thing, what do you do? I mean, what happens if governor comes up tomorrow and it's like, hey, we're shutting everything down for 14 days?
Yeah.
Like, if you are everyone's going to stay home. You know, grocery stores are going to go to pickup only unless you're like elderly,
Yeah.
right? Because there are some people that just don't understand how to order online or things like that. Help them out. But what do we do? I mean, what does the world look like in 2 weeks if we go on a 14-day quarantine in our country? I don't know. The GDP loss is massive, and the stock market crash is, I don't know. I have no clue what it looks like. We're just in uncharted territory.
Exactly. And that's part of the fear. And what, even worse, there's no right answer. Because if you...
Yeah, you're probably right.
If you don't shut down, this thing spreads. I mean, and that's only going to affect lives.
Mm-hmm.
If you do shut down, businesses will suffer. Our economy will suffer. And that affects lives.
Yeah, and there's a chance, too, that from what I've read... Right, that even if we shut down for 14 days, that we don't have what they were talking about is kind of like herd immunity, right? Which is, it comes out of, there was an article, came out in Wired magazine, I shared it around yesterday. It was by one of the guys who I want to say helped stop smallpox. And I may be wrong on that. That might be the wrong disease. But he's an epidemiologist and has helped with tons of things. And, yeah, there you go. Oh, I forget we have this.
Yeah, right.
But basically what they were talking about is that there's three things to it. One, the virus goes through a group of people, and there's natural immunity there. The second is like a prophylactic, right? Like something that you can give, like Tamiflu or something, where it limits your exposure to it, or it can at least help you fight through it, but it get the immunities, and then a vaccine were kind of the three things. And yeah. And so basically that's kind of what we end up with. Like, the way that they explained it is that's kind of what we end up with the flu, right? Like, because the flu virus changes all the time. There's like 20,000 flu viruses, and when you get vaccinated against like 5,000 of them or something like that, whatever the numbers are. I have no idea if those are right. I probably just made those up. But
it sounds good.
Yeah, but basically, in a given year, X amount of people are going to have immunity to a flu virus that they're exposed to. Enough people get the vaccine that they're protected against enough of them to kind of minimize it, and then Tamiflu and other things can kind of help us get through it. Right, can kind of head it off. And so that's kind of how the influenza keeps from doing this around the globe every year. but we're dealing with something where no one has immunity, no one's seen it before, we don't have a vaccine, and we're kind of like, what happens? And so there's a lot of question of, one, how long are we going to be immune to this once you have it? So, like, is it years? Is it months? Is it weeks? Because, I mean, the worst thing could happen is like, oh, it's only a 2 weeks vaccination, and all of a sudden Italy spikes again after everything resumes.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much unknown on that end of things. I think it's very, very interesting. And to be talking about it seems a little pretentious because I deal in food and not in medical services. But it's just insane. I would never have predicted this.
I don't think anybody could.
Yeah, no. I didn't even think about something like this, right? I did a paper in high school on Ebola, and I refused to go to Africa. Like, completely refused. I'm like, no. But my best friend always jokes at me. He's like, well, could be Ebola. I was like, thank God it's not.
Yeah, right.
But the deal with Ebola, right, is that it burns through its victims fast enough that it doesn't really spread. Ridiculously contagious. Extremely deadly. Depending on the strain you get, it's between 20 and 97%, kill rates. But it's just like, okay, we can't do anything. You get Ebola Zaire, it's over. 97% people dead. It just wipes people out. But it wipes people out quick enough that it can't wipe out the whole planet.
Right.
This is something where it's like, oh, there's a 14-day incubation period where you could have it, spread it to everybody around, and then all of a sudden you get a fever. And it's like, oh, so I've been in contact with how many people over the last 2 weeks?
14 to 21 days.
Yep.
So, and it's so contagious. So it's a nightmare.
Oh, I like this. Look at that.
What are we looking at here? What
ADHD treatment options. No.
I just pulled up what herd immunity is and just kind of highlighted what the idea is.
It's from WebMD. The whole principle is if you give a vaccine to someone, you protect them from getting infected, but you also prevent them from transmitting the disease to other people, says Michael Brady, MD.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, and so, so that comes from vaccines, but also, as I said, he was expanding on it to like, oh, well, maybe this particular, the year that maybe the virus of influenza you got last year, you weren't immune to last year, but you are now. And so but now it's the one that multiple people in your area weren't immune to. You didn't transmit it last year, but now you're immune to it. So you're around them, but you're not spreading it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're immune. And so it's this interesting thing. So we'll just kind of have to see where this ends up. It'll be interesting to see how big we get, how many people this actually affects at its height. And with the number of people in our country and everything I've seen, we're still on the uptick, very, very much so.
Yeah.
The only reason we don't know everywhere it is because everyone can't get tested.
Yeah.
We don't know who all has it.
Yeah, that's everything that I've read, I'm looking for confirmed cases, but there's still so much that's not confirmed in it, and that's part of what's so scary.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we don't have enough testing. We don't. I mean, if you want to go get tested if we wanted to go get tested right now, we couldn't.
Exactly.
Because there aren't enough tests.
Exactly.
And we're just not set up for anything like this. We're not set up for a long-term pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, nobody expected it. Nobody saw it.
Nope.
And that's why we're in the position we're in.
Yeah, I think so.
It's very strange.
Yes.
The unknown is what's real scary about it all.
Oh, yeah. But I think we are, and it's where we are, and it can be scary, and it can be crazy, and it's going to affect us all in ways we don't understand. But I think there's been a lot of good things come out of this, a lot of things I've seen, for the first time. I mean, the last time that we really, I think I've seen people pull together like this, sad to say, it was 9/11, right? Like,
yeah.
People understanding that we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care who you are, I don't care who you voted for, like, and I never have, because I have family members that are on both sides of the spectrum. I don't really find myself, identifying with Republicans or Democrats. I find myself sitting in the middle and not really liking either one 100%.
Yeah.
I think that we could do better. The other side of this is that like we're at the end of the day, this is something much like a terrorist attack that is not, it's not targeted at anything other than everyone, right? 9/11 didn't care who was in the building. The goal was to kill everyone, right? To create a mass issue in America.
Yeah.
This, though, isn't premeditated. This virus is just doing what it's genetically designed, created to do. It doesn't care who you are. And as Americans and as people of the world, we're all on this planet together. We're all in this city together. We're all in Arkansas together. We're all in America together. We're all in this world together. We got one planet, as far as we know. We hadn't found anything else we can live on.
Not yet.
And we don't have any way to get there if we found it.
Mm-mm.
So, we take care of each other. I don't care what language you speak or what you believe, and let's figure it out. Let's figure out how to make this happen. Let's figure out how to come together, and I think we're seeing that in our communities right now. We were very lucky as food trucks. World Central Kitchen with Chef Jose Andres, which I may be wrong in this, but I'm pretty sure that it came to be after the earthquakes in Haiti. But Chef Andres is out of D.C., and that's where they're based out of, but they do food relief for all sorts of natural disasters. They were in the Bahamas most recently. They were in California for the wildfires. They went to Puerto Rico after the hurricane. They were in Haiti after the earthquakes. And then they pop up all over the place. Well, one of the food truckers from here, Kyle Pounders, who has Excalibur, who I've known for years, he and I both went to school at OBU together. Actually, I don't think we overlapped. I think he was after me. But he's been working with them. He got tied up with them when the hurricane hit North Carolina. He was out there. He just has a heart to take care of people, and I think it's beautiful. And he's been working with them, and he came back here, and they activated him, and we've been feeding. We jumped to 39,000 meals is what they're planning to give away this week, which is huge. So we're doing lunch and dinner all over town. But they've been kind enough as an organization to kind of give the food trucks a stipend to help out.
Wow.
Because it allows us to distribute food, but it's enough to get by, if that makes sense, or to at least not go under. Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And so and I don't know how long it'll last, but I know that for now it's been a lifesaver for several trucks. And I know for me, as I've just made the decision to completely shut down operations, basically, because people don't need to be gathering. And the truth is that, like, from what we're being told, we don't even need to leave. We need to stay. If you're going to leave your house, yeah, obviously go outside, get some fresh air, all that. But, I went for a run yesterday, but I didn't go around anybody. Yeah. Right? We don't need to be gathering together. And so it's like, I don't want you coming to the food truck. And here's why. I can't guarantee that I'm not going to give you something, because I am working to give people in communities that don't have the resources that a lot of us have, feed them. It's pretty much guaranteed that I will contract COVID at some point, right? Like I'm aware of that. I understand that. I'm going to get it. I'm in the public all the time. I could have locked up and stayed home for however long this lasts, but I feel like it's better for me to be out there helping. We're now wearing masks. We're wearing gloves. I sanitize. We don't hand you food. I set food down, let you come up and get it. We keep 6 foot. We're doing everything we can to, minimize that chance. Sure. But we're not doctors. We're not in quarantine. We're we're doing the best we can to feed people.
Which is essential.
It's huge right now because there's a lot of people. I mean, even last week, Monday to Friday, there was a big difference as things shut down. And as things are shutting down this week, even more and more, we're going to see more of that. Kids were out on spring break this week already, and so we're doing lunch and dinner this week. And then next week, I think it'll go back to just dinner. But it's essential in our community, and not every community gets that. But they're helping to keep small business alive and not just people fed, and that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that once this stimulus package gets passed, we'll see what actually happens long term. And then, I know Delta Biscuit's going to be around when all this is over. And I hope all my friends are around, but we'll see. But we just feel lucky right now. We just canceled everything. We're like, hey, we're not going to come out. We're going to go to the same location every day, hand out food. I'm going to take care of my staff. I'm going to take care of my business, and we're going to make sure people get fed. And when this is all over, we're, as a restaurant food community in Central Arkansas, we're already looking at ways to maybe put together like a Central Arkansas Restaurant Worker Relief Fund. I've had some talks with some people about doing some events and doing some seed money, and then letting restaurant workers contribute to it, and do events throughout the year that are, hey, we're going to do this private dinner with this chef. We're going to do this. And like 50% of that ticket goes to this fund.
Yeah.
And not just for events like this, but because, hey, not just the workers, but the small businesses.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are things in my business that only I can do, because there's two of us. And if I was to be in a car accident and couldn't walk, my business can't run. And I need to diversify that. But like, it would be nice to know that I have a little bit of backup. If there's a server that, gets sick and can't work for a week. Well, it's nice to know that there's something there to help them out that isn't just their employer. Because as a small business owner, like, I don't always have that ability. Depends on the time of year. Depends on what's happened. Depends on the last week.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everything is so up in the air, but if we want to put something together where it's more stable than that, I know when I worked for On the Border years ago, Brinker had a Brinker International Family Fund. You contribute like $5 a paycheck, but everybody in the Brinker family could do that, and it was like 28,000 employees. Well, I mean, you're looking at like $125,000 a month or a paycheck going into this fund, and there's somebody off their board. There's like managers and servers that are on these teams that, hey, my mom died and I live in Chicago and I need to fly to Phoenix. Can you help me? And they're like, well, what's the cost of the plane ticket? What's this and this? And they'd be like, hey, we'll cover the plane ticket and we'll cover, $500 for your week's wages. Like, that's what we're willing to do for this. And I'm like, man, that would be huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah,
and that little bit changes people's lives. And we live in a service-based economy now. We do not live in an economy where everybody's corporate. I think what they say, like 48% of our economy of workers in our economy work in healthcare at some point, but a huge percentage we're service-based, and it's even going to keep going that way. So I think that if we can just help out Central Arkansas, focus on that first, and then maybe move it to Arkansas wide. But that's already been some talk. So we'll see what happens. I think that this is causing people to refocus on some things, and I think as a whole pull together. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully be able to help some people.
Yeah, most definitely. That's the biggest thing right now. Like, especially with so much being unknown and up in the air, the one good thing, as unfortunate as it is, that I've been saying is that worldwide we're all in it together at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, like help your local community. If you can help beyond that, help beyond that.
Absolutely.
Just and hopefully we'll make it through.
Yeah, and that's we've talked a little bit of politics, but I think that's where like socialism and community run back together, right? Like, nobody wants anybody's grandma to not get health coverage.
Right.
What we hate as people is being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's something that we all hate. And so I think that this is a way for us to help people, and us to do it in a way that is not tied to anyone else. It's just, okay, if we can do this in the food community, and then maybe we make it service industry wide, but I think that what I've seen from this is that small business, local business needs more of a voice at the table. And so my brain is turning on, okay, how do we help small businesses have a voice at the table if stuff like this happens in the future, how do we have as much of a voice in government as big business? What does that look like? How do we do that? How do we organize? How do we come together in Arkansas to have a voice at legislative, but nationwide to have a voice in Washington?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you right now that if you take every small business in the country, we could have a bigger lobby than almost anyone. Definitely larger than like corporate fast food or corporate restaurant. There's more of us. And we bring in more money. We're just not all centralized. That
Right.
money is decentralized.
Right.
And
Which is really, for the economy, is so much better.
agreed.
It's not, essentially, it's not hoarding.
No, absolutely. But we live in a world where streamline and efficiency and all that is rewarded.
Yeah.
Because people want to spend less money,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Well,
I get it.
The less money that you spend, the more money that you can hold on to, right?
Absolutely. But
Don't get me
also,
wrong,
also, we live in a country where the less money you spend, taking your family of 5 out to dinner, the more money you have for, football cleats. I mean, there's a lot of families that,
True.
that it is down. The difference in eating out that night is local or fast food, and mom's working 2 jobs, and
True.
dad's working 2 jobs, or mom's working 1 job and dad's working 2 jobs, and they're barely making ends meet. And some people would go, well, that's their fault. And I would go, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. That's a case-by-case basis, and I'm not about to start judging that. But at the end of the day, those are the choices. We can all agree that that's the choices that they're faced with. And it's like, okay, well, what do we do? And they're like, well, we ran the kids through McDonald's, right? We didn't take the kids to a food truck.
Sure.
And I get it. Completely and totally understand that. But that doesn't mean that, like... But the more that the small businesses join together and almost unionize, which it wouldn't be a union, but a small business association, the more that we're involved in that, and that is feasible for small businesses to be involved with, and a lot of that comes down to what are they getting in return? Do they see a benefit to it? And as a small business owner, that's why I ask about everything. Where's my return? I just joined the chamber. It's almost $400 for the first year, but I know that I'm going to see that return because I'm at a point where I can actually go to chamber meetings and make sure I'm there and work it. Last year I wasn't, so I didn't join. I'm going to put in the effort, but I want that in return.
Right.
And it's like, okay, is my chamber membership giving me $400 in return a year? Well, if it is, then great.
Yeah.
And if it's not, I'm not joining it. Like, you've got to, it has to work out. And small businesses are like, is this $50 getting me a $50 return? We have to know that.
Sure.
So
Sure.
we'll see. But I think there's hopefully there's a lot of forward thinking that way. Because I don't think that this is the end of it. Whether it be viral pandemic or weather or anything, I think we're seeing more of an uptick, and I think people are going to need more help. And more than anything, I think as Americans in small business, the more we're all together and on the same page, the more of a voice we can have, and the more the better will come out of anything in the future. Because, if something happens here, but somebody in, say, Oregon, that small business group can help us here and we can help them in return, well, then we're just kind of helping everybody out, because everybody's going to have downs and ups. So if in my ups I can help people down, and in my downs the people up can help me, can all stay level, right? And I feel like that's the goal, because I didn't open a food truck to make $1 million. Right? I opened a food truck to eventually open some restaurants. But I want to pay people well. I want to take care of people. I want to give people health care. Or I want to pay them enough that they can have, whether we go to a single payer health care or not, we'll let that be determined. But, my goal from day one has always been to pay people well. And I don't think that, I don't think that everyone deserves $15 an hour minimum wage. And here's why. Because I think I'm a decent business owner.
Yeah.
I think everybody deserves a livable wage.
Yeah.
But if you hire a 15-year-old girl to run your register, or guy, and they live with mom and dad, and they don't have any bills, well, I would rather pay them 10 and pay the lady in the back that it comes in 5 days a week and makes biscuits for my restaurant using me as an example, I'd rather pay her 20 an hour than pay both of them 15.
Yeah.
Because somebody needs it more. Right. Now, what we run into is, like you said, greed. We live in an economy where it's maximizing profits, and people don't look at it that way.
Right.
Because I go, well, at the end of the day, this person 10 and somebody else 20, that isn't any change in outage on the business. But if I'm paying somebody 15 and another person 15, it's harder to pay someone 15 and another person 20. Because now the outage is higher. But as we started off talking about the railroad, the union, the reason they were around is because the railroad didn't take care of people. They were called the robber barons for a reason. And we live in a society where people want to pay as little as possible because they want to maximize profits.
Exactly.
In my theory, and I hope that what we see from this is that small business needs to come together. People in the communities need to support the small business so that everybody supports everybody. Because if I can pay you somebody 20 and somebody 10, and they each get paid a wage that is good for them, then everybody comes out better than if everybody is evened out.
I agree.
Right? And that works in theory.
I agree.
I don't know how that works in reality. I think the way you've seen it work in reality is you pay everybody as little as you can and you maximize your profits and you make $250 million a year, $55 million a year as a CEO or whatever. I never want to make $55 million a year. I don't need $55 million a year. I don't care.
Nobody needs $55 million a year. Let's be real.
Nope.
But if you can pay everyone as little as possible, and then you make $55 million a year, you can afford to give them a bonus. That helps. But consistency, I think, is key in the whole thing.
Oh, sure.
Those peaks and valleys it's dangerous.
Agreed.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, and you're gonna have. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that when it's out of sight, it's out of mind to a degree. But I think right now we all have a chance to stop for a minute and go, okay, how are we going to come out of this different, better, and stronger?
Yeah. Fortunately, and I don't know if it's just me and who I follow and am friends with, everything that I've seen in social media has been a lot of positive things. A lot of people telling people about these small businesses, about these little things going on that you can do to help, and people, wanting to help.
Absolutely.
And things like that, which has been fantastic. And I hope that just continues to carry over.
Yeah, I do too. I hope that we see that. I hope that what we see out of this is a revitalization of local small business.
Yeah.
I would love to see nothing more than local grocery stores come back.
Yeah.
Local pharmacies, right? Which are kind of making a comeback. I mean, a good friend of mine just opened a local pharmacy here, Acor Family. Brandon is a good buddy of mine. But he just opened a pharmacy out here, and that's his goal. He's like, man, I want to know. He cares about every single person in there.
Yeah.
And he wants to make a difference. He doesn't want to be Walgreens. He wants, when you walk in, he knows you. Because if he knows you, then he can know what's going on with you, and he can spot an issue before it ever becomes an issue.
There's more care there.
Huge.
And really, I think another way to look at it, without trying to get too political in this sense, our government is governing all these people. It's so big that it's become black or white.
Sure.
And there's so many, most of us, you're on the same page as I am from what you've said, that we're gray and we don't like either side, and this is terrible.
But gray doesn't stay in power.
It doesn't, because it's either black or white. Because it has to be. There's too much going on.
Sure.
You can't hear every voice.
No.
You can't talk to every person.
Mm-mm.
Instead of a glass of water, it's an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You can't manage that as well.
Well, and what was it that I heard the other day? Like 2% of all the users on Twitter make 90% of the posts. And it's like, but we know this. We as Americans know that the vocal minority gets taken for the majority.
Yeah.
My dad and I have fundamental disagreements on some things, right? That's fine. But we sit down and we agree on everything. Nobody in this country wants another school shooting. And if you could tell everybody here, hey, if we do this one thing, it'll stop this, everyone would agree. But the parties stay in power by making stark lines and pushing you down it.
Sure.
And I think what we've seen is that in times like this, those get broken down a little bit more. And we're able to say, oh, it's not about what's going on in Washington. It's about what's going on around the corner.
Right.
What's going on here? Because I actually know these people.
Right. Which, brings me to that point that these small local businesses,
Mm-hmm.
your guys that are here at the corner,
Mm-hmm.
they're not looking at the broad view.
Nope.
They're looking at a much narrower view.
Mm-hmm.
They can help more. They can guide more.
Mm-hmm.
They can care about you more rather than everyone. And
Absolutely.
I think that makes a big difference, and I think people see that now, especially now.
I hope so.
And I hope that continues to grow for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hope that what we see is a continued push for small business and all that. So it would be a big boon to local economies coming out of this if the money got spent local.
Yeah.
Because it's going to help local thrive again faster.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I know after the 2008, 2009, it was really Yellow Rocket that started pushing the Little Rock food scene, right? I mean, you had a couple things bouncing around, but you had McGee was in Boulevard Bread, and then he opened Zaza's. And then all of a sudden, okay, they have Zaza's, and now they're going to open, they were opening, Big Orange Local Lime out west, and then Big Orange downtown, and then the brewery. And then in between that, you have, South Main getting redeveloped. You have Vino's, which has been around for forever. Then you have Threefold, Noodles and Dumplings. I mean, you start having all these little things bouncing. Baja Grill, that started as a food truck in Benton, is now a staple, and they're opening another location. Eat My Catfish came out of that. All these local places, Wonder House in Conway, just growing. And so hopefully what we see is a recommitment to that.
Yeah.
And then things getting pushed and moved on. So I hope so.
I hope so too. I want to move on to, I got a few more questions.
Done.
About you specifically and Delta Biscuit Co.
All right.
I really have to pee though, so I'm going to go do that real quick. And while I'm doing that, she can pull up some stuff to show people the best way that they can find
Perfect.
you, the best way that they can get a hold of you, all your social media, that kind of thing.
We can talk about that.
And
then when you get back, I'm going
right
to go pee.
back. Yeah, fair enough.
Perfect. And then you can go pee after we pee.
I don't pee because I'm 130% efficient.
That's genius right there.
Yes, I'm going to do very well.
You don't ever pee?
No, never.
That's perfectly efficient.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It takes a certain level of zen.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I don't pee.
Yeah.
I just sweat it out.
No, I don't even do that.
You just glisten.
Yeah, it's just, I just think, and I'm like, it's over.
I meditate the urine away.
Yeah, it could happen at any moment. It could have happened during the show and you would have
probably
never
did.
known.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
The energy felt different.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're talking about how to find me.
Yes, we are.
Is that the thing?
This is definitely not the site.
Nope.
But
no, that's my website.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing there, if you're watching or listening to this, Delta Biscuits, it's plural. There's an S on the end, .com. And the first thing you'll see is my upcoming locations. That all comes from, as if you're looking at that, it says powered by Mobile Nom Food Truck Finder. Mobile Nom, N-O-M. You can find that on any of your mobile devices. It is an app. Most of the food trucks in Little Rock and Central Arkansas are on there. And what it does is it allows us to plug in a location. It puts that onto Google Maps. And then if we're within 3 miles of you, it'll ping your phone and let you know there's a food truck open close. Or you can go on there and look and see who's open right now, who's going to be open later today. And you can see a full schedule for the next week or two of who all is going to be open and where they're going to be. If you see a food truck you like, you just click on it. It'll tell you where they are and what times they're open and all that fun stuff. That is a great app, and I think we're going to be getting the food trucks that are doing food distribution on there so people can find them and know exactly where all the food distribution is happening.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, and then I do put my schedule, usually Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on how the week is. I put it on Facebook, and I pin it to the top, so it's the first thing you see.
Yeah.
Those are cinnamon rolls. That is not my location. I've been playing around biscuit cinnamon rolls, and they're pretty good. Yeah, I gotta nail it down. But you can see the pin there. It looks like a little thumbtack.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yep.
Right.
But we have basically canceled all of our things. So you can find us if you click the Seymour. We're at Romine Elementary at 3400 Romine Road or Avenue. Monday through Friday. We'll be there 11 to 12:30 and 5 to 7 p.m. If you need to know where that is or you need food, come get it. Lunches are specifically for kids that go to that school that need food. We're not able to feed the families, but dinners are for anyone. So, and the reason I say that is because if you show up for lunch, we will give it to every child that is there or every child you tell us you have. But we bring about a third as much food. So we've been bringing in almost 200 meals at night and giving them all away. So it's been fantastic. But yeah, that's how you find us. Best ways, Instagram. I don't really post where we are there, but I am the Biscuit King. And then I post things like my podcast studio and the family meals we're doing, and then biscuit cinnamon rolls and cake pops, because who doesn't love cake pops?
Right. Yeah, that's pretty rad. I didn't realize they were doing that, giving away meals like that. That's really good.
Yeah, super helpful.
Yeah, I hope more of that continues on. I hope that continues on for a while, especially in times like now. It's fucking crazy out there, man.
Yeah, everybody definitely needs all the help they can get.
Yeah. Yeah, right now for sure. Those cinnamon rolls that he posted looked so good.
Yeah, he said he was playing around with them. Definitely bug him about more information on that, but
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm gonna go into. I really want to know, like, what his menu looks like and how he gets into all that and decides and all that jazz. So I'm pretty interested to see what goes into that. Obviously, some of it is a bit experimental.
yeah, much like your cooking sometimes.
Yeah, all of mine's experimental, but mine's a hobby, not a business. So
Yeah.
there's a big thing in that. That's one of the reasons, though, that I'm curious about his process and his menu.
Yeah, to see if he wakes up in the middle of the night with like, I should try that.
I don't do that. I don't wake up in the middle of the night for anything.
No, you don't.
Like a rock.
What's going on?
I'm curious about your cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
They look fantastic.
So those are biscuit cinnamon rolls. So instead of like a yeast dough that has to rise and it's real stretchy, that is biscuit dough. I made another batch of them this morning. Still kind of playing around with it. Something I've been wanting to work on. They are delicious. They taste like a cinnamon sugar biscuit right now.
They look
with icing.
so fantastic.
I'm gonna play around. I've got another idea. I want to bridge the gap between biscuit and cinnamon roll, which I think is angel biscuit dough, which is half biscuit or like half like baking soda, baking powder, and use yeast in there. So if you think of like the Pillsbury like pop roll biscuits that are like real thin layers, like that's angel. That's like a take on an angel biscuit. So an angel biscuit is like half yeast roll, half biscuit. So you use a little bit of both.
When I was a kid, those were my jam.
Yeah. Yeah. I made angel biscuits for an event in December, and I was like, oh, I've never done these. And I was like, oh my gosh. But they do have to rise. But like a cinnamon roll usually rises twice. And it's a pain. The angel biscuits aren't as much. So they're a little bit easier. They rise once. I can flatten them out after that, roll it out, put the cinnamon and sugar on there, and I think it'll give me that kind of biscuit flavor, but also with the cinnamon roll kind of texture, kind of that pulley texture. So I think I'm going to try it out. See, maybe tomorrow morning.
I wanted to dive into a little bit of your menu, first of all, what you guys do have available, what you guys are putting out, and then also
nothing right now.
Well, yeah, right. And then also how much of it, or what kind of your process is.
Sure.
Because you said you taught yourself how to do the biscuits, right?
I did, yeah. Yeah, so well, let's start with family meals right now. So like if you want food right now, like what we're doing is like think like the aluminum pans that you would like use on the grill or something like that. Like what we call in the restaurant actually a half pan.
Yeah.
So we're doing those. We're doing quiche, which you can get ham and cheese or spinach mushroom Swiss. I'm doing a hash brown casserole with like potatoes, sausage, cheese, egg. We're doing our French toast bake. So it's basically a French toast casserole. So it uses our biscuits, custard. You bake it in the oven, then you slice it. Man, it's fantastic. So what else are we doing there? I've got biscuit cinnamon rolls on there because these are really good. They're just, I don't think they're where I'm going to end up, but I'll be happy to sell these if somebody wants them. They're delicious. We're doing those. And then I'm doing biscuits, like dozen biscuits, not our normal size, which are like 4.5 inches across, but more like a 2-inch biscuit, like a normal breakfast size. And then we're doing gravy, and then we're doing like a biscuit and gravy breakfast. So it's like a dozen biscuits, a quart of gravy, like plenty to get you through. Feeds like 6 to 8, depending on how many biscuits people want. The menu that we run on the food truck, we have a couple items that are staple. We do our hash, which we call the hash Gordon, because it's the savior of the breakfast universe.
Nice,
right?
yeah.
And that is a tri-colored potato blend. It's one of the few things we actually buy in and we don't prep ourselves. But it uses purple potatoes, sweet potato, and Yukon Golds. And it's just a really good product that I got. I actually found it through Gilbert, who's the executive chef at Kamiri. He did a pop-up on the truck last year, and he brought them. And I was like, man, what are these? And we started talking. It's a product that's, I couldn't do it cheaper or better than I can buy it in. It's super high-quality product. So we buy them in. We do a hash with that, potatoes, onions and peppers, ham, and then an egg on top, and then a little bit of Hoff sauce, which is a hot sauce out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's the only hot sauce I use on the truck. I'm working to find a good vegan chorizo. So if people want it vegetarian or vegan, we can make that happen. We had a lot of requests for that. So working on that. It'll also give us a couple more vegetarian options because right now that's the only one. But if I bring on the vegan chorizo and I have it available, I can do several things vegan. We always do our Hillbilly Benedict, which is we split the biscuit open. It's my version of an Eggs Benedict because I love Eggs Benedict. It's
solid go-to.
Something I'll order just about anywhere. But we split the biscuit, 4 ounces of ham, 2 fried eggs, and then 4 ounces of gravy across the top. So it's everything you want in an Eggs Benedict, but hillbilly style.
Yeah.
So we do that, and then we do the Madness, which is we named it the Madness because it has jelly from Jelly Madness, which is a local jelly company. They only use Arkansas juice or fruit. And I say juice because they do muscadine jelly, which is what we have right now, because you can always get fresh muscadine juice from the wineries. So which I didn't realize until they told me. They're like, yeah, so they actually sell it bulk to places, so they're able to buy it and have it year round. Because those places process it properly, so which is really cool.
Interesting.
So we can always have an Arkansas-based jelly, and then that'll rotate. The next one will be strawberry cranberry jalapeno, which is delicious. Ooh. Yeah, super good. As soon as strawberries come in, they'll make me some, and I'll throw it on. And then we did a blackberry ginger at the end of summer, and it was just phenomenal. Man. So I'm super excited about that. But it's petit jean sausage, fried egg, pepper jack cheese, and then jelly on our biscuit. So it's just sausage, egg, and cheese, but a little bit of jelly on there.
Man.
And the story behind that is my grandfather always ate like sausage biscuit with jelly. I didn't know that it was not supposed to have jelly until I got older, and people were like, what are you putting jelly on a sausage biscuit for? I was like, that's the way you eat them. And they're like, no, I've never done that. And I'm like, I don't know. It's one of those family things. So we just named it the Madness, and it pretty much just stays on the menu. We usually have a couple fried chicken dishes. So like right now, fried chicken, egg, and apple butter. Homemade. Everything on there is homemade. I make the apple butter myself. In the spring, once I run out of apple butter, we'll go to a sweet potato butter, and we'll do it with greens, fried chicken, and then and sweet potato butter, and it's phenomenal. We call it the Dixie Quick. It's really good. We'll do slaw and barbecue, which I make slaw and barbecue. Make the barbecue sauce myself, so we'll do that with fried chicken. And then we'll also do that with our pulled pork. So before I was going to do a biscuit truck, I was going to do a barbecue truck. So I have all those recipes. Nice. Yeah, and then we'll do a burger. Right now we're doing a Philly as a special. So we just have a lot of fun with it. And then our weekend menu, we have the 3 items at the top. We usually do a fried chicken thing. Sometimes we don't. We'll do the French toast, the baked French toast. And then like, depending on the location, we did a lox bagel or a lox biscuit. So we did the biscuit, rolled it in everything, bagel seasoning, baked it, split it, cream cheese, salmon, pickled capers, pickled red onion, and then a little bit of dill on there. So it was like like a lox bagel, but it's on our biscuit, and It's really good. We do while we have the Philly, we also do steak and eggs. So it's a steak and egg biscuit. So it's basically pepper jack cheese, ribeye, peppers and onions, scrambled egg, a little bit of hot sauce. It's fantastic. So we just have fun with it. We're going to bring back we did one. It was a chicken fried meatloaf sandwich. Yeah, right. So we made meatloaf. And I'm not a big fan of meatloaf, so I was kind of playing around with it to try to get something that I really enjoyed, and I found a way to do it where I really liked it. There's a flavor in meatloaf. I don't know what it is. I just don't like. So kind of played around with it, got it where it had the same texture, similar taste, but that flavor was gone. And then we were just heating it up on the flat top and doing it with like fried onion strings and barbecue, which is really good. The problem is that like you're reheating the meatloaf on the flat top, so it takes a minute. And it takes up space, and it was like, and then sometimes you deal with textures, like meatloaf's a little soft, or biscuits are soft, but you got to do the fried onion strings, but then we were only doing them for one item, and then it's a pain in the butt, and it's like, I don't really do them on anything, so how do we fix this? And we were like, I was like, I bet you can fry meatloaf. So we rolled it in our, just like you would a chicken fried steak or anything, dropped it in the deep fryer, comes out hot, comes out crispy. Well, now, chicken fried meatloaf.
Win-win.
Dude, it's fantastic.
Not only
Love
that, but when you hear something like that, that's not normal. Which just generates interest.
No, who does chicken fried meatloaf?
Yeah, I want to try that.
Yeah, it's really really good. So we have fun with it. We just do fun things and have some fun with it. And
where do these ideas come from? Who in the world thinks chicken fried meatloaf?
Well, man, when you're doing fried chicken, you got meatloaf there. You can fry anything. It's just like, I mean, you're on the truck, and it's like, and it's kind of slow, and you're like, well, and all of a sudden you'll just be like, bet you can do that. Like, how else can we heat this up? Because, and then it was like, well, we put it in the fryer, and I was like, yeah, but if we just drop it in the fryer, I was like, what if we batter it first? You just try it, and that's the way most things happen on a food truck. We just kind of figure it out and
fantastic
make it happen. So yeah. So we do that, and then we'll do a bread pudding from time to time, and that's really fun. We did a cranberry orange one for Christmas. We're going to do a chocolate one at some point with Cocabella. They work out the same place we do, so we'll get some of their chocolate, do a chocolate bread pudding. We'll do chocolate gravy, because it's the South. You got a little chocolate gravy here and there. So we just do that from time to time. But yeah, so just having fun with it.
Yeah.
I was looking at my phone to see how many messages I have. It's just like all green, so
yeah,
that's all right. We'll figure it out. We're done. But yeah, we do all that. But yeah, what process are we going to dive into? What do you want to know about? Biscuits?
Yeah.
Well,
can you give away your secret recipe for biscuits?
No, I can't.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Here's the key to biscuits. They're all basically the same.
Yeah.
Right? Keys for biscuits are I use only white lily flour, right? And gluten has been in the media and dietary stuff for a while. But essentially it's a protein that makes things stick together.
Right.
Okay. White lily, because of the specific wheat it's made out of, has a lower gluten content. It's about 9%. Okay. Your normal all-purpose Pillsbury is about 12.
Okay.
Okay. And if you go to like what they call cake flour, you can get down like 4.5. Right? Because think about a wedding cake. You want it light. You want it fluffy. You don't want it stodgy. You want it moist. You go real low gluten. Biscuits, you want to be in between, right? You want to be able to work them a little bit with your hands, but you don't want them to be tough, right? When you eat them, you want to be light and fluffy. Well, then you make something like cinnamon rolls, right? The reason cinnamon rolls are kind of stretchy is because of the gluten.
Yeah.
Yeast rolls, same way bread, very similar. You want that gluten in there. You want it to work. You want it to stay together. You want it to be tight. And then the yeast, usually in like a cinnamon roll or a bread, is what expands it out. But you want it to stay together, not crumble apart. So I only use white lily flour. We use a lot of butter. As I was making the recipes, I literally started with, okay, what do I want in a biscuit? What do I not want in a biscuit? And then set out on a course to try to figure out how to get there. So it was flour. The first thing we started with was butter shortening or combination, right? There's 3 ways you got to have a fat. And for what we wanted to do, I wanted butter. After trying only butter, only shortening, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, and realized that very quickly it was like, okay, well, I don't want all shortening. And then it was how much shortening do I want? And we got down and I only wanted no shortening. Kind of figured that out pretty quickly because the difference between like 90 and 10 just wasn't enough to deal with the hassle of having shortening around. I was like, I forget it.
Yeah.
100% butter is where we need to be. So we're all that. And then it was a matter of, okay, where do I want the flavor? What bakes up right? What feels good? How do we get there? Buttermilk or butter? Buttermilk or regular milk? Maybe a mix. There's all sorts of ways to go there. And so you start playing with it. And very quickly I went to 100% butter and buttermilk because I wanted that type of biscuit. And then it was, okay, play with your salt, play with your sugar, play with your butter, or play with your baking soda, play with your baking powder. And where do we get to that it tastes the way I want it to taste? Now, go from a smaller biscuit to a bigger biscuit. Okay, what do we need to change to make that come out right?
Yeah.
And eventually, about 80 tries into it, it was like, okay, I think I got it.
That's the guy.
I think I like what I want. Yeah. And then it was, we had to make another change when it went from me just hand mixing a single batch to doing a 6-time batch, which is everything now. White Lily only comes in 5-pound bags. So we just, everything's portioned for a 5-pound bag. You pour the bag in, you pour the salt, sugar, baking soda, baking powder in, and then I know how much buttermilk I need, I know how much butter I need, and we go.
Yeah.
And so it changes. But, yeah. And then a year and, well, geez, we're 18 months in, and I've made 20,000 biscuits or so. I'm a lot better at it right now.
It's a lot of biscuits.
Yeah,
that's
they've gotten better.
People to feed.
It's a lot of people to feed. It's a lot of biscuits. And I've gotten a lot better at it.
Sure.
Like it's
anything you do that many times, you're gonna get good at it.
Yeah, biscuit making is less about the recipe and more about just doing it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not. There's nothing crazy about it. The reason your grandma's biscuits were good is because she's been making for 40 years.
Yeah.
That's why. That's why they're good.
And I say that, I cook. I like to cook. I enjoy it a lot.
Sure.
I have a good time with it. And I've been doing it long enough that I can make some stuff that's pretty good. She hasn't been cooking for super long, so some of her stuff's a little hit or miss. But I tell her all the time, you just got to do stuff. The more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it, and that's with anything. I think. When I started tattooing, I was a terrible artist. Not only tattoo artist, but just artist in general. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. It just takes time, dedication.
Absolutely. I'm a horrible artist. There is nothing I could do to get better.
Oh, you could.
No. Here's the deal. I could get better in my box. But like my cousin and my little brother, my cousin was like 3rd grade. Right. If he saw it, he could draw it lifelike.
Yeah.
And give him chalk, he could shade it properly. I'm logical in process.
Yeah.
Right? I can paint. Like I painted like some miniatures and stuff. I understand the technique. So I can do the technique. But I have no idea how to get from point A to point B except I'm paint by numbers. And that's fine. I'm not that way.
I mean, that is a process, though. It is a process.
But we both have tattoos. To tell me that one day I could get to there, you're out of your mind.
No, man.
No, but here's the deal. To get there, my problem is I couldn't conceive it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that like, yes, if you handed it to me and were like, if you do it this way, it will turn out this way, sure. But to draw that from my head, 0 chance. Like, I don't have that. My creativity doesn't flow that way.
Right now. I'm telling you, you grind enough, you're eventually going to get it. It's just the amount of time is it worth putting in the time to get there?
But I do believe that there are, within that creative sphere, right? Like painting, drawing, all tattooing. Some people get it at a level that others don't.
Yeah.
Right? And I wouldn't disagree with you. I think if you or someone who knew how to draw properly sat with me and worked with me, I could understand the concepts. My thing is like, but I'm never going to create something new in that because I don't function that way, right? I don't create things that way. I create things, but you take me to a neighborhood in a city, and you give me 2 hours walking around, and I can create a restaurant that fits the city.
Yeah.
Because I create things that way.
Well, also, I mean, how long have you been doing that?
Well, and here's the deal. That's one of those things that, like, I've been doing it for a long time because I had an innate ability to do it. Does that make sense? I am better at it now than I was.
Sure.
But that isn't something I learned. That is something that just comes out of me.
Okay.
And more so the process. I pick up on nuances that I don't recognize. You take me to a restaurant, you sit me down in a booth, and you let me sit there for 20 minutes, and I can tell you most things that are wrong in the restaurant. Front of house and back of house. I've never been in the kitchen. It's a feel, it's an understanding, and a lot of that's intuitive now that I've been in them for so long.
Sure.
But also some of it is like I just pick up on things that I don't even realize I'm picking up on, and I understand how things kind of fit together and flow together for whatever reason. And so yes, I've gotten better at it, much better.
See,
but I didn't have to work to get there, and I guess that's what I'm saying. Like I see people who like. Okay, they're an artist at like a level 6 out of the gate.
Yeah.
And I'm at like a 1.
Yeah.
You put me in a restaurant or you put me in a situation where I need to connect pieces and make something big happen. I'm at a 6 coming out of the gate where other people are like, I don't get logistics.
Yeah.
And so I have a natural inclination there. And
Exactly.
not that you couldn't get there, but I'm going to get to a 10 in my realm way before someone else is.
Right. Which makes more sense to pursue that path.
Yes. But I also think that, like, I look at tattoo artists and stuff and I go, it doesn't matter how much time I spent. Yeah. I'm not going to be at a 10. I might get to a 7.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good. But I'm also the type of person, like, I'm not good at 7. I want to be at 10.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's my thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I went to college on a saxophone scholarship. I don't understand improvisation. It doesn't work for me. Can I do it? Yeah, I mean, I understand. I approach it very differently. But I had a friend who, like, also played saxophone. And if you started playing, he'd start playing with you, and you'd be like, that is amazing. And he was 16.
Yeah.
But you put a super complicated piece of music in front of him, he has a harder time with that than I do. And it's just about, like, natural inclinations there. So.
Yeah. Well, for a long time, I would, do things that I needed to get by on like I'm doing a job. Mm-hmm. I do this job so I can get money so I can live. Mm-hmm. I would do this hobby because I'd like to do it. Mm-hmm. And then there would be things that I was interested in that I could not do. Tattooing being one of them. A terrible artist. Couldn't. Really? I mean, it's so terrible. I still think I'm not a great artist. But I found actually within the past, I'd say 5, 6, maybe 7 years, I found basically the ability to learn.
Sure.
And the interest to learn. And I found that there's if you're willing to spend the time, there's really not that much that you can't do. Sure.
No, I would agree with that.
You have to find what's worth pursuing.
Yeah.
But as long as you're willing to do it, you'll figure it out.
Sure. No. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think it's more of like you wanted to do it, you did it, and you're willing to put in the time to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I really like tattoos.
Yeah.
But I don't want to tattoo.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay. I would rather have someone else do that.
Yeah.
And
it turns into a lot of, like you said, if a skill level is from 1 to 10, I've only got this much time to invest in this. Maybe I'll only become a 6 at it. And maybe I'll have to drop that and figure something else out. But you can go from a 1 to a 6
in
anything.
I think you're probably right on that.
You can go
1 to 6 in just about anything.
Yeah.
Maybe not singing, because if you're just tone deaf, some people are.
Yeah.
But I'm with you.
There's tricks to get around things, right? People
Sure.
figure stuff out all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's another thing too. You gotta look at. Sometimes you gotta look outside your own box to figure out
Yes.
a way to advance. And I've had to do that a lot. That's actually one of the reasons that this whole thing got started, was to learn to get better at talking to people.
Oh, that's fair.
Because for a long time I was terrible at it. I'm still not that great at it right now, but more practice, man. The more you do it, the better
That's
you get.
it. Yeah, and that's you take that first step, right?
Yeah.
Like once you take the first step, it's good. It's like I was redoing a piece of furniture, and it's like I was terrified to put the first coat of paint on. But once I did, I was like, oh, it looks great. All right, cool. Now I'm like on to the second piece within a week, and the other one had been sitting in the garage for 18 months. And it's like, okay, cool. Like you figure it out. And once you do it, it's not as scary as actually kind of up and doing it.
Yeah.
So I found like if I want to paint something, I'll just throw paint on it and just be like, okay, paint. Okay, cool. Well, now I got to finish it. And it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I appreciate the processes and a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It took me a long time to get to that point because, being young and wanting so much from everything, you want to just be there. But I've learned to enjoy more of the process, and I think it's helped out a lot in general, like a more understanding of things.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that completely. Yeah, I like. You have to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's like restaurants. Like I do want to have multiple restaurants. I want to design and develop concepts and do consulting and stuff. That's long term. I'm enjoying the process of the food truck. It's really enjoyable still.
Where did you start with like the food industry?
Oh man, I started as a dishwasher at Western Sizzling.
Really?
Yeah, in
When was
Searcy,
that?
Arkansas. 1997.
Are you
Sounds
from
right.
Are you from around Cersei?
I'm from Baldwin.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Concord.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, not that far.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, no, I know right where Concord is. So I grew up in Baldwin. Cersei was 12 miles, and so
Yeah.
I had some friends at the Western Sizzling there, so I worked there. No, it would have been summer of '98. Yeah, because I had, sounds right. Summer of '98. Would have been right before my senior year. Because I think junior, fall of '97 I turned 16. Because I was 4 when I started elementary. Because my birthday's in September. And I was an only kid till I was like almost 7. So I could already like read and write and everything because I was just around adults. So I started a little bit early. I was ready to go. And then, 97, I turned 16. And then that next summer, I got a job, working at Western Sizzling. And that was kind of my first intro. And then I just had a bunch of other jobs. And then worked at a restaurant in town. I ended up moving back for a year, 2001 through 02, spring of 02. And... worked at a restaurant then. Really enjoyed it. Wasn't great money, but I enjoyed it. And then I ended up getting into coffee in college. Worked at a coffee shop. Really enjoyed that. And then worked at a coffee shop in Little Rock after that. And then ended up moving to waiting tables and bartending. And then ended up moving to Omaha, Nebraska for a little bit. Worked in restaurants up there, managed. Went to work, fixed restaurants.
What took you there? That's a strange thing.
I got married.
Ah.
Yeah, so she and I met at OBU, and she lived up there. So that's where she was from. So she had a decent job and enjoyed what she was doing. I was just working in a restaurant. So I was like, well, I can come up there and work in a restaurant. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Omaha's great, though. Love that city.
Really?
Great city. Yeah, Omaha's a killer city. Great events, great food, just great. Reminds me a lot of Little Rock. It's crazy. Has like the downtown on the river, like Midtown, which is like Hillcrest Heights, and then like west. And it was really, really good. Really enjoyed it. And then moved back here in fall of 2009. Went back into restaurants and then went to the railroad and then came out. But did some stuff in that time. Managed, did training, corporate training, franchise development, fixed some restaurants for a guy that owned some. And just realized, okay, I understand the process quicker than people. I understand the what needs to work together to make it happen. and so could get that down, and that was apparent, and was like, okay, I really enjoy this, I really love it, and then realized that I really want to have my own place. I don't really like working for other people.
Yeah. Well,
So
sure,
yeah.
that's the goal, right? Generally.
Yeah, it can be. I know some people are like, oh, I hate working for myself. Like, I want to work for someone. I like, they like, I want the 9 to 5, and I want the steady paycheck or whatever.
I guess I could see that.
Yeah, some
That-
people do.
A little more consistency there.
Sure. And there's some places you can work for, right, where like you can be in charge and you don't have any of the risk, but you have a lot of the upside.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Case by case on that, I suppose.
very much so.
But
More
what's
so than now.
What's the end goal look like? Where do you hope to be? Where do you hope
Biscuit
to take?
domination. No. Yeah. So the plan from the beginning has been 7 restaurants in Arkansas. 6 to 7. I think there's room for Conway, Little Rock, Benton Bryant, or a second. So 3 here. Northwest Arkansas, 2 to 3. Probably 3. And then maybe one in Jonesboro. I think just a little local kind of Arkansas-based chain. And not chain, but like Arkansas-based smaller company. You know, keep it very much the way I think maybe Yellow Rocket has, like very kind of tight-knit. You know, but instead of multiple concepts to manage, there's just one.
Yeah.
So we're able to really keep things locked down. And then the goal is to either really enjoy it and use that to be able to go and help other people, you know, launch other concepts or do other things and just have fun with those. A lot of one-off stuff. I don't really have a desire to have 30 or 40 or 50 concepts. It just doesn't make sense to me, or even locations. I'm just like, no. Like, why? Like, there's plenty of places around the country that have local places, and I kind of like that. I like going to other places and being like, oh, I can't get that in Arkansas. Oh, I can't get that here. And that brings kind of a regional or local feel.
Yeah.
And so I want to do that. I really enjoy like the consulting side, like going in and helping people and seeing people achieve their dreams. That is great. And then I have some concepts I want to launch, like just things I've been thinking about for years that I'm like, okay, that's the right place at the right time. It doesn't work everywhere, and not building it to sell. Just I want to own it. I want to be able to go there. It's someplace I would want to go. Let's put it that way. Be like, no, I want to just do places I want to go to. That's it. Just have fun with them.
Yeah.
So, and Delta Biscuit's a place I would go eat brunch. And if we ever open when I open a restaurant, you know, the goal is to be the place I would want to go eat brunch. Not every week, but I want it to be in my top 3. You know,
Yeah.
I want to be like, okay, well, where are we going to brunch? Well, if you have friends in from out of town, you got to go to Delta Biscuit.
Yeah.
You know, well, hey, where are we going to brunch this week? Oh, well, we went to Delta Biscuit last week, so let's go over here. We'll go back there next week. That's where I want to be. I want to be that place.
Sure.
You know, hey, where are we going to get breakfast? Where are we going to order breakfast from? Oh, well, let's order this. You know, I just want to be that place. I want to be that local Little Rock place, that breakfast brunch. That's it. So I'll give everybody else lunch and dinner. Just give me breakfast and brunch. That's all I want.
Yeah, well, that's a good area to be, and
I
it
think
seems
so.
like you got some good ideas here with the cinnamon rolls, fucking chicken fried meatloaf.
Yeah, get
I'm-
on it.
I'm trying that. I'm telling you,
All right.
I'm gonna try that.
Hey, it was going to be the April special, but
Right.
that's probably going to still be the Philly.
Yeah. This time, things are strange.
Yes.
Things are weird. Things are crazy. We'll get some normalcy down the road, I hope.
I hope so.
Jeez.
Can you imagine if this was still going on in the fall?
Well, this all
Welcome to
really
hell.
started November, December?
Early December in Wuhan.
Yeah.
I think the first time we got anything here was, well, Italy's been like January,
Yeah.
and they're on the downside of it, they think.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I think we can benefit from looking at them. How a lot of Europe in general is handling it. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's crazy times. Things are weird.
Late 2019. Yeah, early this month was the when it was declared a pandemic. So
Earlier this month,
that's what it said. We'll see.
outbreak started
March
in late 2019 and developed into a global pandemic. Yeah, by March 2020. What is this from?
OurWorldInData.org.
Interesting. But yeah, hopefully this gets over quick. Hopefully we don't see too much lasting, long-lasting economic impact.
Yeah, I just think it's going to change. I think it's going to change small business. It's just going to change. I mean, it's already changed the world.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it changes everything for the better. We come out stronger. I think the best case scenario is small business sees a dip but comes back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And we start to reclaim a little bit of our. I would like to see small business pull a little bit of the market share from bigger business. It has definitely made me think of like, okay, yeah, I can order that on Amazon and have it here in 2 days. But I'm going to be driving by this local place that may also have it. Let me just pick it up there.
Yeah.
It'll be $3 more and I'll pay, I'm still going to pay taxes regardless.
Yeah.
But I'll pay the extra $3. That's fine. Now, if my choices are like Bed Bath & Beyond or Amazon, Amazon, send it to my house.
Yeah.
I'm done. But I was even like, I need to pick up a rotary sander. And I'm like, well, I'll just go buy that at Fuller & Sons. I'm not going to go to Home Depot.
Yeah.
Like, I'll buy that local. Even little things like that, right? I may pay $5 more, but whatever.
Yeah, if you can afford to do it, you're better off.
Yeah, well, and here's the deal. If you're buying a rotary sander and you can't spend $5 more, like, you can spend $5 more.
Yeah,
Go to, drink
right.
one less cup of coffee out, or I'll have one less beer when I go out to eat. Because it's not like it's rotary sander or don't eat. It's
right.
like $5 more on a rotary sander. I'm still going out to eat. I still go to Flyway. I still go local places. I still have cocktails. So sorry, restaurant, you're going to get $5 less in beer, but I'm still spending $50, and I spent $5 over here. It's all going to local economy. So I think it's, it's made me think more about that stuff.
Yeah.
Way more.
Win-win. No one's really losing.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're spreading it to the local economy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because then those people are going to go in, and they're like, oh, well, these 10 people came in and spent an extra $5. So now they can go to that local restaurant and spend money. And it's like, it all just cycles around.
Bingo.
Whereas, not saying that doesn't at Home Depot. That those people who work there don't go local. But, not as much.
You're exactly right.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And
it's interesting.
That's what we need more of. And that's what I'm hoping. And like you said, hopefully we come out of this stronger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you come out of it, you're coming out, hopefully stronger. Because I do suspect, as bad as it is, like, we're going to see, there will be less options when this is over.
There has to be. Not everyone can make it.
Nope.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's
So we'll
the reality.
Yep.
But, yeah. Delta Biscuit Co.
That's it.
When, and, man, what you guys, I didn't even realize you guys were doing what you're doing now. So that's super fantastic.
Yeah, it just kind of was something that we had an opportunity to jump in on. And so I jumped in early and was like, okay, well, hey, we're only going to be, we have these things scheduled. And then very quickly it was like, what is the best thing for us? What is the best thing for the community? And it was, we should stop operations. We do not need to encourage people to come out to the truck. What we need to do is encourage people to stay home, get takeout, do that stuff. And yes, I can set up and do takeout. But I also look at it right now with what we're doing with World Kitchen, and we are going to come out fine. And if 50 people come and get brunch for me or 100 people come and get brunch for me on a Saturday morning, let's say they spend $10 a person, that's $1,000. Well, those people could go to another local business, and maybe they stay open, because I know I'm going to be open. I'm fine. Not where, like I said, not where I want to be, but I'll be okay. I'll come out of this on the other side. And it's not, I'm not looking at it as winner take all, right? The stronger our local economy comes out, the better off we'll be. So in the more small business we have open, the better we'll be. And I'll tell you right now, I would much rather, Reduno on South Main stay open than Olive Garden stay open, or, Pizza Hut, I would much rather Damn Good Pies be here when this is over than Jimmy John or than, Papa John's.
Yeah.
Like, forget all that. Like I get it, and, and if you're ordering Papa John's right now instead of Damn Good, like, get the hell out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're ordering, like, U.S. Pizza, American Pie, like, there's plenty of local places. And if you don't know, friggin' send me a message. My phone number is on my page. Call me and go, hey, I want to order pizza tonight, and I know you don't sell it, but who's local? This is where I live. I will tell you. Because that's the stuff that matters right now.
It is.
I normally don't care. I'll order Jimmy John's if we're working because they deliver to the truck, like where we're working. They'll deliver around back. It's fine. I get it. That's $20 that in a normal time doesn't matter. But right now, heck no. Like, I'll be damned if I'm doing that. Like, I will go out of my way to order local.
Yeah. Now more than ever.
Yeah. And I will say the benefit is that, like, I've been eating more at home and more healthy since all this has happened. I was laughing about that the other day. I was like, yeah, I need to, this COVID thing, like, it's the new COVID diet, right? Like, you're eating at home and you're not eating out and you're not eating all the junk food. The problem is I have too much booze at my house.
Yeah. I've been eating more because I'm not as active.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm a little bit bored. Maybe I should
bored
snack on
eating.
something.
No, yeah, you can't do that.
It's dangerous.
You gotta have the times. You
dangerous.
gotta eat at certain times.
Or stress eating because it's a panic.
Is it?
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's fair.
Sometimes.
I
Who
stress.
knows what's happening?
My deal is somebody sent something out the other day and it was like what was it? It was a meme and it was just something about like day drink, like quarantine drinking, like 9 a.m. is the new 5 p.m. if you're in quarantine or something like that. And I was like, I mean, I might have had a breakfast beer.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't, but, noon whiskey. It's like, it's 12. It's fine. I don't have anything else to do. I may as well drink some whiskey on the back porch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
But I think that's all right if I'm like eating more frozen broccoli and chicken breast. Like, normally I'd be like eating like Indian food or something. It's like, and drinking. And it's like, maybe I shouldn't be eating all this cream and stuff, but it's good.
Yeah. There's a balance there somewhere. Somebody will figure it out.
All right. So what's your go-to only one local restaurant in Little Rock that you can get food from during quarantine? What is it?
During quarantine?
Yeah. Like, let's say that like only one place you're allowed to get food from. What are you choosing?
I think last week we did U.S. Pizza because it's not too far.
So that would be if that's the only place you had till this is over.
Oh,
that's
no.
what you would choose.
No.
That's what I want to know.
Whew. Man, that's tough.
Come on now.
So,
you have breakfast food at home, so you don't have to worry about that. Just lunch and dinner. This is the only place you can get food from unless you cook it.
So, just one thing out of the fantastic food and out of them being in tattoos, I work late.
Yeah.
So one place that we go like when neither one of us feels like cooking anything, and I just get off work, they're still open late. The Pantry.
Oh, I love Pantry.
Man.
So where do you work?
Lucky Bella.
Oh, okay. Got you. Oh, but that's across town, yeah.
I mean, it's across the bridge.
Yeah.
So
I mean, do most places don't cross over.
Oh,
People
man.
are like, oh, it's so far, it's across the river.
I can almost throw a rock from the tattoo studio to there.
That's true. Do you go to the one on Rodney Parham?
Yeah.
So I can literally throw a rock from my house to there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I live on North Shackleford. So
yeah, see...
I can walk over there.
Yeah, I would
it's
be there all the time.
Yeah, it's great. No. Because then you order the lasagna at midnight, and you should never order that lasagna at midnight.
I know. I've been there too many times. And the cheesecake, oh my God.
Okay, so we got to talk about this.
Okay.
I love cheesecake.
Yeah.
Okay. My brother-in-law, when they come into town, he has to have the cheesecake at least once, normally 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think it's okay.
Really?
Yeah. It's not my favorite.
Why?
I don't know.
But
everyone loves it.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge cheesecake fan. But I'm just like, it's okay.
It hits most of my high notes.
Yeah, see, it misses me, I think, on a few levels. I don't know where that is.
What's your cheesecake grading process like?
Well, I can tell you. So my favorite cheesecake in town is Cinelightful, a.k.a. Cheesecake on Point. So Matcha has that, and that's what she does. She does cheesecake.
Okay.
They are phenomenal. She also makes the best tiramisu in town. But if you go to Bruno's and get tiramisu, she makes it all. It's so good. Like, I could just eat my body weight in tiramisu. It's delicious. I think my issue with that cheesecake is there's an issue with the crust, the graham cracker crust.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is though. I haven't dived into it enough. It's like a 7 out of 10 for me, but everyone talks about it like it's on a 10 out of 10, and I'm just like, I'm not there.
Yeah, I like theirs because it's not, the crust is not too sweet.
You're
like
right.
A lot of graham cracker crust is.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the texture of it as well. It's not too. Some graham cracker crust is real doughy.
Yeah.
And some is too crumbly.
That's fair. Yeah, theirs is kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't like the middle ground. Maybe I'll want it one or the other. I don't know.
Maybe.
I need to like do a side by side and like narrow down. Well, I don't like these things.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is though. And here's the deal. I'll eat it. I don't think it's bad, but everyone's like, it's so good. And like, I love Tomas and I love the pantry. I eat there more than any restaurant in town. I just don't. The cheese. Everybody's like, I love the cheesecake, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, yeah.
What was
But I order the apple strudel there, so
that's what.
But I love
the apple strudel is really good too.
Yeah.
She likes apple pie, so that's right up her alley. She doesn't like the cheesecake either, but she's not a big fan of cheesecake in general.
I just don't really like cheesecake.
At all?
No,
How come?
not really. I don't know. I feel like we used to eat it a lot when we were kids, and I just kind of look at it and I'm like, no, I want like an actual cake.
Do you like tiramisu?
I don't think I've ever had it.
Do you like coffee?
No.
She likes chocolate though.
Then you're not allowed to eat tiramisu.
Yeah, coffee's
Because the base of tiramisu is ladyfingers dipped in like espresso. So it's like a very coffee base with like a mascarpone cheese. What is it? It's essentially like a custard, like a mascarpone cheese custard on top of that. And then usually there's cocoa on top of that. But if you don't like coffee, like it's coffee and cream. It's a coffee cream dessert. But yeah, if you ever want to try cheesecake, like matcha, like let me know. I'll get you a slice. It's so good. And it's like the best cheesecake I've ever had. It's so ridiculously good. She did the green tea matcha cheesecakes for Kamiri. So she does the tiramisu. Yeah, she grew up in Norway, I think. Well, Suriname and then Norway.
Kamari is another place that we both really like.
Yeah, Kamiri's great.
I mean, we both like sushi a lot. And then
sushi.
I've never had anything there that I disliked.
No, you're not going to. Do you like K-Bird?
Where?
K-Bird?
I haven't had K-Bird.
What?
Where's K-Bird?
Okay, so it's off Lee on not Van Buren, like North H or something. Anyway, it's in an old house across from the school, and it's a Thai restaurant.
Ooh.
And it's phenomenal.
Okay.
Phenomenal. And he will, if you need to go, you need to be there at 11 because he'll run out of food.
Okay.
And the food's what's on the menu. But on Thursday night, he does $20 takeout. Like, it's a $20, it's like $19.99. It's $20. But you get like 3 things. But on Friday nights, they do like a table. It's like reservations. It's like 12 courses. It's $50 a head, price fix. It's ridiculous because it's all stuff that is not on the normal menu and is like very Thai.
Okay.
Like, it's so fun. It's fun to get a group and go and do it. It's great.
That's up both our alley as well.
Yeah, it's super fun. So that place is fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're going to walk in. It's like this house is going to fall down. But it's not. It's great.
Yeah.
The food is amazing.
Super into that.
He was closed down like all January. He goes back to Thailand every year. Like, yeah, goes and sees people and dusts up. But it's perfect. Like, it's so good.
Man, in all my travels, that's the most beautiful place I've ever seen.
I've never been to Thailand.
Oh my God.
I've been to Indonesia.
I was in the Phuket area.
Ooh.
Never seen anything more beautiful.
Nice.
Shrimps as big as my fist. It's that
Hulk
place is
shrimp.
crazy. Yeah,
they're huge.
It's crazy. What were you doing in Indonesia?
I did tsunami relief work in summer of 05.
Okay.
I went to Sumatra.
How was that?
Amazing. This is my first time out of the country. So it's like up for a month. Yeah. We were on like 28 days. It was unbelievable. Changed how I think about everything. Changed everything.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. Loved it. Loved it.
A lot of my big like eye-opening experiences were when I started leaving the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I think travel is huge.
Yeah.
So not right now. Don't travel. It's COVID. No. Everybody stay home.
Yeah. Wait till after this whole pandemic.
You're not allowed to leave anyway. So.
But what's your local spot? What's your joint? The one.
Ooh, if I can only have one.
The one.
Ooh, get the one. Pantry would be hard to beat because there's so much on that menu.
There's so much. They're open so late. They've got. I mean, it's win-win. Everybody's so nice. It's very affordable.
True.
The place is great.
Absolutely, it's unbelievable. They just. I think it's. So, but if I could only have one place during all of this, Pantry would be hard to beat. I don't know. I could a little Starve India. Yeah. I could Starve India because like there's so much you can get there because you could get like, but I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'd have to have Sammy go like off menu for me.
Yeah,
like, some stuff. But yeah,
it'd
be great. I think Pantry though. If it was a restaurant and I was like one restaurant food from here, I think it'd be Pantry because like my favorite dish in town, like my comfort dish, is like the roasted pork shoulder.
Man,
right? It's on point. I'm so sad they don't have it at Crest. It's not on the menu at Pantry Crest. But you could do that. But if you're in an Italian mood, you could just get the lasagna, right? So you're all Italian there.
Yeah.
You can come back and you can get like the sauerbraten. They do that. And then their specials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're...
And then I could just get like, I just need 9 orders of dates. And you get the pantry board. So I did Friday night, got the pantry board and a salad, and it was like, boom.
Yeah.
Movie. It was good.
I'm telling you, man.
I love it.
Place is such a
That's
good
the best
go-to.
board in town. Other people have tried, and no one's nailed it yet.
Not like them.
Not consistently.
No. No. And, man, everything is. I've never had anything that I was not happy with there. Even, And
the burger. The burger's great.
Yeah. Their burger's good. Last time... It wasn't last time. It may have been a couple times before. Anyway, she had the fish and chips, right?
Oh, they're great.
Which you just expect fried fish and french fries.
No. They're great.
Theirs was one of the best fish and chips I've had.
The first time I had fish and chips was in Galway, Ireland. And I'm just like...
That's not fair.
But his fish and chips are fantastic.
Yeah.
They're the best fish and chips in town, for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I'd like to have a good chip place.
Yeah.
You can get good curry chips at Hibernia, though. It's proper, like, English-Irish curry.
Really?
Yeah. It's real good.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, you totally should. Have you been there?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's on Rodney Parham. Up from, what's that place? What's the place right by Arby's? Hugo's? I don't know. What's the place on the end there? It wasn't McAllister's Deli for years. And now it's like... It's between like... It's in that shopping center that's between AutoZone and Arby's. Right there on the left. And it has like the Middle Eastern deli like up in it. But they're up in the corner. Used to be a nightclub in that place.
Really?
Yeah, back in the day. Like 99 to 01. Up in the corner of that shopping center.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. There was a shooting there, multiple, and that shut down.
Yeah,
I forget what it was called. But yeah, but the end of that is there's a restaurant there, and it used to be, there's one out like east of town, like out Roosevelt. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the name of it. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, see, she can.
I don't know exactly what I'm looking at.
No, you got. I'll find it in 1 second. Because I'll just search. So
I'm not even sure. I'm trying to think of that area.
Homer's, right by the Homer's. They're on Rodney Parham.
See if you can Google that. Homer's.
Yep. Hibernia and Homer's are right there. If you come off Rodney Parham, or if you take the Rodney Parham exit, you go left, you go across the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go past the Baskin Robbins,
mm-hmm.
and you hit the light that would be at Old Forge. And as soon as you come through that, you start back up that hill, and there's that shopping center on the left. There's like a couple things. There's AutoZone, and then there's like a shopping center. Homer's is on the end. It's got like Cosmoprof in it. Hibernia's in the corner. And then right past that is Arby's, or liquor store Arby's, and then Treasure Hill. And then right past Treasure Hill, or right at the corner of Treasure Hill is Advanced Auto, and then there's the Sonic, or the
Hit that map.
gas station, the Sonic.
Let's see what we can figure out here.
Yeah, there it is. Layla's is right
Oh,
past
okay,
that.
okay. I got you now.
There's a TJ Maxx. Holy crap.
I actually,
On Reservoir.
I had a friend who was selling the floor mats from his 4Runner that I met a lady at that TJ Maxx. So
You knew where it was?
I knew the TJ Maxx for sure.
That's it.
Anyway,
Nice.
yeah, that's not as far down as I thought you were talking about either.
No,
Okay.
where that Homer's is right on the end of like a kind of a J-shaped shopping center, and Hibernia's in the corner. It's a good Irish pub. Jerry West owns it, and he is from Ireland. Bartended in New York for like 20 years. Ended up down here and opened up an Irish pub. He's legit. Yeah, he's a great dude. Great dude.
Interesting.
So yeah, but they have good Irish music. It's a good pub, man. It's a good place to go sit at the bar and drink a Guinness. He pours proper Guinness now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I'm gonna
really
go
good.
check that out then for sure.
Do it. Give me a call. I can walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real close.
Yeah, we'll check it out. My my normal go to has been since I moved down here, has been like around Grumpy's, which is, I'll be honest with you, a terrible bar.
Yeah. Smoking. That's the problem.
Yeah,
But that's our bar.
it is.
I know a lot of the people at Grumpy's.
One time I wore a tank top in there and they kicked me out,
Good for them.
even though the bartender had a tank top.
She or he?
She.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
No.
I get it.
I've been to Grumpy's. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not as much as some people.
Yeah.
I just don't like smoking.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it.
That's my problem with like late night stuff. Like even like 4-quarter, right? Like I love 4-quarter, but it's like, man, there are nights where I just do not want to smell like cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
And I get it, but like, come on.
Usually, like the next day, I can still tell I was in a smoking bar.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
as soon as I get home, I usually just strip in the garage and go shower. And some nights I'm just like, ugh,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Yeah. That is one thing bad about it for sure.
Agreed.
But yeah, hopefully things get back to normal soon. I want to come eat a biscuit.
Come on.
I want to come check out this meatloaf.
Yeah. We'll as soon as this is all over, of course, we're gonna put together some events around town for either just like kind of celebrating it's all over, but raising money for like local community, doing some stuff like that, just trying to get everybody out of the house, getting back together, food trucks together. Of course, we'll put the schedule on Facebook, definitely on Mobile Nom, so trying to get all the food trucks on there. If you run across a food truck that's not on there, be like, why the fuck aren't you on Mobile Nom?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
trying to do that, and then so we're kind of taking it one day at a time. We're not getting crazy with it. We're just trying to help everybody out and be as responsible as we can be during this, and not get anybody else sick, and feed as many people as possible, because it's about just taking care of community right now. We feel like the best thing we can do is use our efforts to keep people fed and okay, and if they're just coming to us and going home, great.
Yeah.
We've been getting a lot of people that are like, we didn't want to bring our kids out, it's just us. And I'm like, I get it. Cool. Here's a box of food. Take it home, please.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So.
for the best for
Yep.
everyone.
Yeah, and if you need, if you're listening and you're like, oh my God, like it's getting tight, we need food, like please hit me up. I'll tell you where we're going. You can go to Little Rock, I think it's like littlerock.gov or Little Rock City website, and they have a listing of where all the food trucks and where all the food distribution sites are. But if you don't know, if it's easier, just message me. I'll be happy to like figure it out and link you to it. So make it easy on people. But yeah, no questions asked. You show up, you say, hey, I need this many meals, and you get food. So that's what we're trying to do. It's not about asking questions. It's about taking care of people.
Yeah.
So
The most important part.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be checking it out. Hopefully everyone else will too. And when we get back to normal, we'll all come eat a biscuit.
Absolutely. And as soon as I get this podcast of mine up and rolling, I'll get you guys over. We'll chat. Figure out. I want to hear all about the tattoos. There's a lot of questions I didn't ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to hear all about it.
I'm stoked
That'd be fun.
I'm stoked for when you get this going, because as a food hobbyist and a huge food fan, I'm definitely stoked to check it out as well. It's gonna be
Awesome.
gonna
Yeah,
be
it'll
cool.
be good. Yeah, we're gonna be doing food, but also just like small business stuff. Like, hey, how'd you get started? Why? Like, what's the benefits or the cons? Like, what do people need to know? Trying to really help people out. But then, like, what's the story? Like, Like, what did it take? Because the truth is like, from what I've realized, is like, everybody's got a different reason.
Yeah.
Right. And none of them are wrong. And there's no right or wrong way to go about it. It's about perseverance and doing it. And it's about realizing that, like, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be things I got to overcome. Fuck it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. And if you're not willing to dive off in it, don't. That's fine. Like, you don't have to. I have friends that work for someone in a job that they love, helping people, and it's wonderful. And if you're happy, be happy. That's what it's about. But if you're not, yeah. You know,
shift gears.
But be ready. Be ready, because I've never worked this hard in my entire life, and it's I love it.
I'm with you.
But you know, also, like, right now, like, I don't feel like I'm as worried as a lot of people, because I'm like, I'm in control. Like, and even if God forbid this went on for 6 months and Delta Biscuit had to close its doors, there'll be something else.
Yeah,
I'll come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's one good thing too, with that spirit that it takes to start a small business.
Absolutely.
You've done it. You can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work.
Sure.
But
it's not scary. I know what to do now.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Probably even better than the first time. Now that you've learned all those lessons.
I mean, if I could do it over again, it'd be like, give me the 2 years back. Let's re-roll. Let's go.
Yeah. You
know,
for
lots
sure.
more sabotaging. No, I'm just kidding. Be ready to roll.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to normalcy. We're looking forward to biscuits.
Absolutely.
And yeah, check them out when things get back to normal. Check them out if you need food now.
Absolutely. We'll point you in the right direction and make sure you're fed.
It's an important
and your family.
Help
I'm just staring at this purple geode over here. It's so
fancy,
pretty.
right?
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where I got that.
You bought that.
Yeah, I can't remember who I bought it from, though.
It's all right.
There's a lot of strange things in here. Anyway, we'll catch you next time.
Perfect. Thanks for having me out.
Thanks for coming again.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun.
We're like 3 hours in. I love it. A little more.
Where'd we at?
It's 6:35.
Is it really? Holy shit.
Yeah, we're at 3 hours and 6 minutes.
Nice.
Still.
Perfect.
Nice.
So.
All right. Catch you guys later.
Thanks for having me. Peace.